And welcome, well, not for everybody, to the opening drive on 101 ESPN, where it's 7 o'clock in St. Louis. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley, Super Bowl champ Carey Davis, Randy Karraker, and huge 101 ESPN programming announcement as we start the show this morning. A huge personnel change. The Craig Berube segment in the Fast Lane has been canceled.
Oh. Well, I'm just waking up, Randy. What happened? I was driving in.
The coach got whacked.
Yeah. Ollie?
Not Ollie. No, the guy who's won a championship. Chief Craig Berube, the guy who got the largest ovation from the Blues fans on opening night at Enterprise Center. Craig Berube, the Blues have lost 4 in a row. And after last night's loss to the Detroit Red Wings, the Blues saw fit to fire their Stanley Cup winning coach.
I said this yesterday, and when I said it, obviously I didn't know that this was going to happen. Bad players get good coaches fired. Bad effort, bad energy, just bad attitude. Bad players, and that's not necessarily on the ice or on the field or on the court, but just bad players get good coaches fired all the time. It's a time-honored tradition. It's something that is going to happen when you have players. We listened to the audio of Braden Shin the other day, and just what he was saying about the effort and trying to pull guys into the fight. Bad effort, bad energy, bad players, good coaches don't last long. Yep.
No, I was honestly so shocked because I woke up to it this morning because, CD, you were up late last night and you had sent it in the group chat. And so when I woke up this morning, I was like, oh, wait, I have some text messages. And I looked, I'm like, whoa. There is no way. My first initial reaction, when I got here to St. Louis, I came here during that Blues Stanley Cup run at the very beginning of it. So I was very lucky to be able to witness that, seeing all the changes that the Blues went through where they fired Mike Yeo. And then this coach comes in and Craig Berube, and he was no nonsense, very stern, very serious. And I was like, okay, we'll see how this goes. And the way that he was able to so quickly turn around that locker room, I had never seen anything like that in my career. And I know that I haven't had as long of a career as you guys have had, obviously, in broadcasting, but still, no. Experienced and seasoned, Randy. Experienced and seasoned. But just to see what he was able to do with that team and that incredible Stanley Cup run, Craig Berube was the mastermind behind that. He pushed all the right buttons with getting that team together. I'm completely shocked and honestly not happy with this decision.
No, I'm not either. And we're going to talk about it throughout the morning. We welcome your mic drops with the 101 ESPN app. We expect that you're emotional. As a matter of fact, looking at the text lines, you are emotional, as you should be. Chris Kerber is going to join us at the bottom of this hour. We're also going to talk, hopefully, to Jeremy Rutherford, who has a great piece up. I was reading JR's piece this morning, and I thought, man, this could have been me writing this. I'm so in tune and in line with what Jeremy Rutherford said in his piece at The Athletic. So the Blues right now are 1 point out of a playoff spot in the NHL's Western Conference. They have a record of 13-14-1, and they are at the moment 7 points behind Winnipeg with 54 games to go in the season. During the offseason, June 12th, Blues chairman Tom Stillman joined us here in studio, and I asked him what his expectations were for the 2023-2024 St. Louis Blues, and he said, we're not going to be elite. He said, we're not. He knew that they weren't going to be great. He knew what they had. Then on October 11th, before the season started, Doug Armstrong had a press conference, and was asked by Jeremy Rutherford what his expectations were for this season. And this is what Army had to say.
Yeah, I think we should. If you look at, I'd love to get third place. I think that I think third might be an easier thing to get than one of the 2 wild card spots. So I think we should be competitive. But again, it doesn't really matter what I think or what anyone thinks. It's what we're going to do. I think we should be competitive with the groups with that. If you break the league into thirds, I hope to be in competitive with that middle third, and I hope to be at the top end of that middle third. That's our goal going in.
Which the Blues are at the moment after their 13-14-1 start. Okay, a couple of quick things, and then I will turn it over to you kids. Number one, this might be a way oversimplification, but it's my belief. And hindsight can be 20/20. But if you really want to go to the core of the issue here, it's that Jordan Kyrou is making $8 million for this team, and Alex Pietrangelo is making $8.8 million for the Vegas Golden Knights. And you gave Torrey Krug, who just is not that good of a player. All right, nice guy, really good community guy, but he's just not a very good hockey player. You replaced Alex Pietrangelo essentially on the same night Pietrangelo signed with Vegas. You replaced. Well, actually, no. You signed Krug before you brought in Alex Pietrangelo, and you wouldn't give him a no move. And it was so simple to give him a no move because you say, if you're Armstrong, oh, well, that sets a precedent. And all you have to do is say, okay, well, when you become the first captain in our franchise's history to hoist the cup above your head, then you can get a no move too. That gave you an out. That gave you entree to keeping Alex Pietrangelo, and the Blues didn't. Okay, the other part of this is 2023, 2024. Craig Berube, we know, right? We've seen it. He can win a Stanley Cup. We know that he's a Stanley Cup winning coach. What the Blues have done this year is akin to giving a James Beard award winning chef a bunch of ingredients that were bought at a garage sale and expecting him to build a gourmet meal. What has this group of players done to give you any belief that they can win? We know the coach can win. Is there any part of this roster as a group of players that makes you believe they can win? I mean, hell, you had your owner and your general manager saying, we're not going to be elite, we're going to finish in third. Well, you're not elite. You got a shot at third. Why the hell are you firing the coach? Unless there's one of two things at play. Maybe it's a mercy killing, or maybe you're shooting a hostage. Maybe you're telling those players that Braden Shedd said the other night, you can't pick and choose when you're going to play. Maybe it's the old, sometimes you got to shoot a hostage. And maybe that's what's happening, and this is the ultimate wake-up call. But it's ridiculous, and the Blues are a worse organization right now than they were 12 hours ago.
I 100% agree. And I hope that it is more of the mercy killing, as you mentioned there. It was very clear that Craig Berube was getting frustrated with his players, especially the younger players. And maybe to the people who are saying this is a great move, that is their counter argument, right? Is that you should be getting the best out of your players. Well, over the years, has he not gotten the best out of his players? He has. And the Torrey Krug, you mentioned Torrey Krug last night. I'm sorry. That was absolutely ridiculous. That game last night, did you guys see how many times Torrey Krug was right there in front of the net when those goals went to the back of the net? He was right there, especially, I think it was either the Fabry or Wallman goal. I mean, Torrey Krug was right there in front of the net, and he didn't tie him up. That just makes no sense whatsoever. And that's more of an execution issue. This was, I thought this was great that Jeremy Rutherford has in The Athletic right now on this article. He says this was an executive issue and an execution issue, not a coaching issue. And that's 100% what you saw here. You mentioned everything with Alex Pietrangelo. That is when the dominoes, to me, really started to fall. And you lost so many veteran voices, not just people who are part of that Stanley Cup championship team, which was what made it so successful, but you lost so many key veteran voices by making these moves. Alex Pietrangelo, David Perron. I mean, Jay Bouwmeester, of course, that was a bigger, different incident, but still, the voices that you lost. Even, I know Vladimir Tarasenko could have been difficult at times, but he was a passionate player and leader.
And let me throw this one out there. And again, it can be used as a second guess, but I know a lot of Blues fans didn't. It was a first guess for them. Keeping Robbie Fabry rather than Patrick Maroon. You know, you gave Robbie Fabry $900,000. You could have kept Maroon for $750,000.
Yes.
During that offseason after the Stanley Cup. There's another one, right? A room guy, and the Blues just
Ryan O'Reilly. I know that but that was when things were being torn apart. Yeah. But still, you've lost so many voices, and it all to me goes back to the Alex Pietrangelo.
Yeah, that's where it starts because he's still in his prime. He can still play and will be able to play, and I don't know if Jordan Kyrou is ever going to turn into a player. I wonder, you know, our guy, Robert Thomas, you hope that he becomes that Patrice Bergeron type player that he was compared to, but times are running now. This is a year, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. This is year 6 for Robert Thomas in the National Hockey League. Jordan Kyrou is 25 years old. When's it happen?
So we talk a lot about, obviously, because that was a historical moment in St. Louis history, the Blues winning. But this is a completely different team. The players are different. You know, you don't have that same fabric of the team that won that cup. They are far removed from those players. And when you're looking at the roster and how it's constructed, guys got to play and do their jobs. And it's if you're not going to do your job, it's going to be hard to win. And it's going to be hard to have success. And if you're not willing to do it every single night, Mike Tomlin has a great quote. It's not what you're capable of, but what you're willing to do. We're all capable of many things. How much are you willing to do? How much was this team willing? How much effort was this team willing to put into every game, every single night? And that's that's what cost Craig Berube his job. And to your point, Randy, I do think I would have to say Craig Berube probably went into that office and said, man, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
I just do it. Get it over with. Don't wait. Don't do what you need to do now. Don't do now what you can have to do later. Do it now. Get it over with. Let's get this done, because I can't stomach this.
Mm-hmm.
When you're watching the Blues play hockey, if a guy is not giving effort and this is the part that frustrates fans. Like, I'm never a person that harps on a contract or how much money a person is making, because it's obviously different from sitting here and talking sports versus playing sports in front of hundreds of thousands of fans and people watching across the country or whatever. But when you're being paid to do a job, no matter what that job is, you should be at the best of your ability every single day. And if you are not, then that job is no longer secure for you. There are other people that want that job and want that opportunity. And when you're watching the Blues play, if you got guys that are not, if I got a teammate that I have to question whether or not he's giving me everything he got, coach, get him the hell away from me. Please do it now before I harm him. It's that important. It's that hard to make it to this league. It's even harder to stay. Don't have this person out here with me, because it puts us all in danger of not having success.
We should mention that Drew Bannister, the Springfield coach, has been promoted as the interim head coach of the St. Louis Blues.
And I'm sure he'll turn things around very, very, very quickly.
Stanley Cup, here
right?
we go.
Yeah, another Stanley Cup on the way, right, guys? But to your point with what you're saying, those comments this past weekend were very telling for Braden Shin, where he talked about guys, picking and choosing when they want to use their intensity, and he can't get into the gear and force these other guys to be able to want to go out there and play hard. That's what you saw last night. There was times where they didn't play hard, and it's frustrating because that is more of an execution issue. But when it comes down to somebody making a lot of money and has the big contract, it felt like we knew that this was coming, right? I mean, you could see the writing on the wall in the sense of, if you're not getting the most out of Jordan Kyrou, and I'm still on the side of, I hate this firing.
Maybe you
but
are.
I no.
Maybe you are getting the most out of Jordan Kyrou.
Oh, this is the most out of Jordan Kyrou. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Maybe this is what he has to offer.
And that's not good, and that makes this contract look bad. But that's what I'm saying.
That's on Army. If that's who he is, that's on Army.
But, that's what I was worried about, that it would come to this season, is that this is what it would turn into with Jordan Kyrou, where it's more of a contract issue thing, and that feeling that you're not getting the most out of it. And, of course, who's going to be the one that has to pay for that? It's going to be the head coach. Mm-hmm. That's exactly what happened in this situation. And because when it comes down to the contract, it's going to be attached to Doug Armstrong's legacy, and he has to find a way to get the most out of it. I still don't think this is the right answer whatsoever.
We want to hear from you. And, oh, by the way, it's Wednesday. Normally we do Ask Uncle Randy. We'll do Ask Uncle Randy tomorrow because we know you want to respond. We've got a million texts already.
Yes.
We do want your mic drops. We're going to talk to Chris Kerber at the bottom of the hour. Hopefully we'll be able to connect with Jeremy Rutherford, who was up late writing last night, but he has a great piece, obviously, and is tied into the organization. And a lot more coming your way about the Blues firing their head coach, the Stanley Cup winning coach, Craig Berube, as we roll on this edition of The Opening Drive on 101 ESPN. All right, big news from Schnooks today. Big holiday news. This holiday season, starting today, they're giving you the chance to earn $60 in rewards just for doing your holiday shopping. How incredible is that? It's the 12 Days of Holiday Rewards event, and it runs today through December 24th at Schnooks. Every day during the event, you'll get the opportunity to earn $5 in Schnooks rewards. Just check the Schnooks Rewards app, view the daily offer, and clip the coupon. Then shop like normal, redeem the coupon, and earn those rewards. Each offer lasts just one day, so be sure to check the app to see that day's surprise and shop for your holiday feast or your holiday party, whatever it's going to be. It's the 12 Days of Holiday Rewards event in the Schnooks Rewards app. Before you go grocery shopping, download the Schnooks Rewards app and use it during the course of the next 12 days. You'll absolutely love what the Schnooks Rewards app will do for you. It'll save you money, and it'll make your shopping experience so much more efficient. I'm going to have to use it today, as a matter of fact. And for the next 12, it's 12 Days of Holiday Rewards at Schnooks.
We could make some transactions that keep us more competitive. Mm-hmm. You know, right now we could be doing things that say, well, that puts that off for a couple of years, but really help us a lot. You know, so right. It's a little unclear right now. I think either way, we'll be competitive. I don't think we'll be considered one of the elite teams, but I think we'll still be competitive in our division.
That's Blues Chairman Tom Stillman on June 12th. Here in studio at 101 ESPN. We'll be competitive, and the Blues are right around 500. They're a point out of a playoff spot, and they're clearly not elite. Yet, they determined that they needed to fire their coach, Craig Berube, last night. On my Twitter actually, it's X now, isn't it?
Yes.
But on my X, I have a poll up. Simple. What do you think of the St. Louis Blues firing of Craig Berube? Good move or bad move? If you would just go to X and Randy Karraker, I have the poll up, and I'm sure everybody's going to retweet it from here, and we want to have you participate. And we've already got texts on the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! And it's interesting that so far, most people think that firing Craig Berube was a bad move.
I think that's pretty telling about how people have felt about Craig Berube. So some texts that are coming in, and this is the first thing that I thought of this morning from the 217. In my eyes, it's time for a total rebuild for the St. Louis Blues organization. The veterans are having difficulty meshing with the youth, which is why Coach got canned. It's time to unload Saad, Falk, anybody that can get us some draft picks and go into total rebuild ASAP. As a team, I would rather be bad and rebuilding than struggling with mediocrity.
And wasn't that an issue last year?
Yeah.
The older players and the younger players not meshing? Yeah. And they got rid of two of the older players. All over again.
Yeah. One of the problems the Blues have in heading into a rebuild is that they are they're on a financial tightrope. They need to make the playoffs to make money, and this can't be a money-losing franchise. It's held as essentially a community trust by the people that own it. The Enterprise, Worldwide Technology, Mr. Stillman, the Danforth family. It's held as a community trust, but they aren't in the business of losing money. So the Blues can't go into a long-term Chicago-style rebuild where they don't make the playoffs. So they really do walk a fine line. But at the same time, when you look at the teams that are succeeding, the Golden Knights signed Alex Pietrangelo as a free agent, 4th pick in the draft. They traded for Jack Eichel, 2nd pick in the draft. Boston is the best organization in hockey, and they haven't needed to utilize a top 5 or 6 pick to be great. But then you look at the rest, the Rangers. They've had multiple top 5 picks that are succeeding for them now, and that's one of the reasons they have the 3rd best record in the league. Vancouver has been in the midst of a long-term rebuild, and finally their young high draft picks are succeeding. The Kings have had multiple non-playoff years, and they're finally emerging from those. And then Florida makes the trade for Matthew Tkachuk, and that might be another one that the Blues look back on and say, okay, 2020 hindsight, we wish that we would have just done it and done I don't know what they could have done. I don't know that they could have given up. They didn't have on their roster what Florida gave up, but I don't think the Blues tried hard enough. And then Colorado, obviously, with their multiple high picks. Toronto with their multiple high picks. When you look at the best teams, generally, they have really high picks. And I don't think the Blues are in a position where they can go 7 or 8 years without making the playoffs. I don't think financially they can do it.
No, but that's why when you brought up the Tom Stillman sound this morning, was anybody expecting this team to be really, really good this season?
That's the confusing part for me. If the owner of the team is saying on June 12th, yeah, we're going to be middle of the pack, we aren't going to be elite. If the general manager in Poho is saying, I hope to finish 3rd in the division, I want to be in the middle third, the upper part of the middle third. Well, right now, the Blues are, there's 30 teams in the league? Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So the Blues are right now, after this 4-game losing streak, they're in the bottom third of the league. But 2 wins, and all of a sudden you're in that middle third that he was talking about.
Exactly. And that's why it's just kind of confusing, this move, because the expectations, while I think we were all hoping for at least getting the playoffs, maybe you were just hoping that they slip or just sneak into the playoffs, but I don't think the expectations were that high this season. And we talked about this. There is not a superstar right now on this team.
Right.
There isn't.
This is a text from this is from our buddy Mean Mike. He said, time to unload Kyrou before the no trade kicks in. The perception around here that I'm getting from a lot of fans is that Kyrou's the reason that Berube got fired. So if you're another organization and you've got a guy with a big contract in the first year of an $8 million a year contract, and your Stanley Cup winning coach, who is a great communicator, hasn't been able to reach the kid, do you want to trade for that kid?
That's the ultimate question. I mean, we talk about it with players that are injured. When we're talking about the St. Louis Cardinals, do teams want to trade for a player that is often injured? And do you want to trade for a player that may be perceived to not work hard or not have a great attitude or not give great effort? There are always 2 teams when you're trading. You can't just trade away spare parts or scrap heavel and say, yeah, take what we got and give us your great thing back. And that's not, I'm not saying that that's what Jordan Kyrou is, but if that's how he's being perceived as a player that does not give great effort, that is a coach killer, a guy that is going to get your coach fired, then that's not someone that you would want to bring into your locker room. For me, this is one of the most troubling things. I think the telltale sign for this Blues team, they play tomorrow night versus the Senators. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when they went to Minnesota and played the Wild, right? Oh, the Wild just fired their coach. It's going to be tough to beat them because they're going to be a team. Let's see if the St. Louis Blues have that same energy when they play against the Senators. Let's see if they come out with that same mindset that the Wild did, that was the reason we couldn't go and beat the Minnesota Wild in Minnesota a few weeks ago, because they had just fired their coach. That will tell you who this team is, and that will tell you whether or not Craig Berube, which I think most of us already assumed that he was not at fault for what took place, but this team still has a half of a season left, more than half of a season left. How much effort are they going to give knowing that they just got the coach fired because of their lack of effort?
from the 573, everyone is blaming Army, and rightfully so, but Berube didn't help his own case. Playing Verona with Blay and McGing, not making any change on the power play. End of the day, it's the coach's job to make sure players show up and are ready to play, and the Blues have not been doing that.
Well, one of the problems that he has is that he was given Verona. And he probably got the best that Jakub Verona has to offer.
Yes.
Last year.
And he has a history, a pattern going into the Blues.
But he did score 10 goals in 20 games with the Blues, and there was a good reason to play him because he was productive down the stretch last year. Unfortunately, the real Verona is the real Verona is the guy that we're seeing now and not the guy that we saw down the stretch last year. But if it wasn't going to be Verona, then what was it going to be? Alexandrov? Were you going to play him? It seemed to me that there were limited options for the coach. This one from the 636. I really hope that these crybaby St. Louis Blues players are happy now. They have a coach who could have guided them to another Stanley Cup if they would have only worked hard, and they elect not to. Just shows you this team is not about winning through hard work to get the cup. So I encourage all Blues fans to redirect your money and your time. Well, I wouldn't go that far because the organization, the front office, the ownership has done wonderful things for St. Louis. But at the same time, yes, you are 100% right. And Carey, I know that you agree with this. This one is on the players. And this isn't like the Cardinals because we know that Craig Berube can win a Stanley Cup. We know that he is an elite coach because he's shown it.
Yeah, he showed it with a different team though. Like those guys, like I said, this is a completely different team. That team is long gone, and I know Blues fans hate to hear that, but that was 5-6 years ago. The transition, the transformation of a team year to year, let alone 5 years, 4 to 5 years removed, it's vastly different. So the
he
expectation.
Didn't become a bad coach, did he?
No. I don't think he became a bad coach, but the best coaches have the best players.
Right.
That matters. And the fact that it's hard for people to understand that. And when I say best players, I'm not just talking about talent-wise. I'm not just talking about, this guy is great speed, great stick, great all of these things. The best players also have the best mentality. They are going to give great effort, whether they're tired, hurt, beat down. They're going to show up for their teammates, show up for their coaches, and they're going to be present every single night. And that's what he had in 2019. They haven't had that because the mindset and the philosophy of the players has shifted.
Our Twitter poll at Randy Karraker, it's been up for a few minutes now, nearly 500 votes. What do you think of the St. Louis Blues firing of Craig Berube? A good move? 9.4% say it is. A bad move? 90.6% say that it's a bad move.
Well, that's all the polling that we need.
No,
Just
Twitter,
based off the text line alone, you could tell that this is not a firing that people are behind right now.
No, and they shouldn't be. I'm glad that Blues fans are showing that they get it. Coming up, the voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN, Chris Kerber will join us to talk about the Blues firing of Craig Berube. We have more coming up throughout the show, including your mic drops and the poll and your text. We want you to weigh in today here on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues last night fall to the Red Wings 6-4, and then after the game, fire head coach Craig Berube. He will be replaced by Springfield Thunderbirds head coach Drew Bannister. We'll be talking about this all across the show the entire day. You can drop a mic drop on the 101 ESPN app. You can text us at 314-399-9646. Coming up right now, voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN. Chris Kerber joins Carey, Brooke, and Randy to talk about the firing of Craig Berube. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Live on 101 ESPN. Brought to you by Sumner One.
We are all aghast, and you can see our reactions today here on our Air Alliance team studio cam. If you just go to YouTube and go to 101 ESPN STL, we're stunned and saddened at the Blues firing of Craig Berube. Chris Kerber is going to join us momentarily. Here's what we got coming up. We just put a show together during the break, kind of. So we do have Take It or Leave It this morning. That's coming up next. We're going to talk to Jeremy Rutherford at 8:15. We're going to talk to Jamie Rivers at 8:45. We're still going to have a fight, and we're going to have John Ulett in studio. U-Man has a cool event coming up, so that'll be at 9:15. And then you with mic drops and your texts and your reaction to the Blues firing of Craig Berube. Right now on my Twitter, at Randy Karraker. That's a Randy, Karraker, on the X, if you want to call it that. Let me just refresh here. We have a total of 741 votes. What do you think of the St. Louis Blues firing of Craig Berube? Bad move, 91.1%. Good move, 8.9%.
I think that's pretty telling about how people feel about it right now. I was thinking about this too, because some of the newer coaches that were brought in, the whole purpose was so that they would help better connect with the younger players, right? You guys remember that by bringing in some of these new coaches, and on top of helping this team in general. But these were the coaches that Berube was allowed to hire. But we talked about this many times this season. Are some of these guys that are here, were they Berube style players? Because what made the Blues so successful in 2019, and how far have we gotten away from that?
And I was asking this question yesterday, and Curbs is on the line with us now. I wonder if you scoured the whole league, if you could get a group of players in their primes right now that could do what and would do what that team did in 2019. Are there enough gritty, tough leader, hard workers in the league to be able to do what that team did? And one thing I've said, and Chris Kerber joins us now on the Celebrity Line here on 101 ESPN, Voice of the Blues. One thing about this particular group, and Curbs, they've admitted it, is they haven't tried hard enough. Good morning. I want to start with this. You're around the team every day. What was your reaction last night when you found out that the Blues had fired Craig Berube?
I wasn't overly surprised because it started to feel like things were going in that direction. But at the same time, to be just bluntly honest, I'm like I said, I wasn't overly surprised, but I was still stunned and a little bit shocked that it actually did happen, because in some ways I felt like this season Craig Berube has been dealt a pocket pair, and he was trying to outdo a flush or a straight, right? For people that like poker. So, but having said that, this is just a harsh reality of this business. You know, I went back and I looked at there's been 7 coaching changes now since I've been with the Blues, Randy. And I went back and looked at what the team did after the change. And you never know. Sometimes, I mean, you look at what the Edmonton Oilers have done this season, having won 7 in a row and climbed back into it after the change. You look at what the Minnesota Wild has done. Now, I don't know that the Blues roster is where those two teams' roster is, but clearly a team that's spending up against the cap, you know, even though you're in a transition year. Doug Armstrong was seeing something that he felt the change needed to happen, whether it be for an on-ice record, whether it be for a different evaluation of players, and this move was made. So I think from just from a heartfelt fan standpoint, this one stings a lot like I think the Quenneville one did. Mm-hmm. You know, and it feels very similar, because if you remember that one, Randy, you know, the Blues and Brooke, I don't think you were in the market yet, but like the Quenneville one, you had a team where the roster was starting to slide, right? And that's the same situation that you have here. Now, it doesn't mean that there still isn't, more that, blood you can get out of the stone there, but it just, you knew you had a good coach. And Larry Plow knew he was letting go of a good coach, and obviously look what happened with what he did with the Chicago Blackhawks, right? So this one feels a lot like that, but I look at this roster, and right now I think I see two, and then I would potentially put in a third player that is, performing to level or outperforming where they should be.
Well, Kerb's a big part of this, too. We talked about the comments that Braden Shin had this past weekend where you could definitely tell that there was some frustration with players kind of picking and choosing their intensity levels throughout games. I was wondering, does it feel like Berube, did he lose the room? Did he lose the locker room? Was that a part of this?
No, I hate that phrase, too, by the way, Brooke. Like how many times have we gone in the locker room and felt like a coach has really lost the room? I mean, even when, players would bark at Ken Hitchcock, but I don't know that a room was lost where players actually just gave up on somebody altogether and said, oh, hell with this, we're not going into play. I don't think that's the case at all here. I really don't. But I do look at it, and there was only so much I think that Craig Berube can do, and he did it. He scratched Verana a couple of times. He scratched Sammy Blais. He benched Jordan Kyrou, for the better part of a third period a handful of games ago. He's moved players out of the top six down to the fourth line. Kasperi Kapanen was on a fourth line, 2 games ago in Chicago. He elevated a player like Jake Neighbors, who's earned the right to be elevated. He scratched Marco Scandella. He's had Tucker and Perunovic in and out of the lineup. I think Craig Berube did a hell of a lot to try to get guys' attention, and nothing seemed to be. It's not that he lost the room; it's just that whatever was going just wasn't working. But no, I didn't see quitting this guy. I guess more to your point about losing a room, I didn't see quitting these guys. Mm-hmm. I didn't see, and that's maybe more of the question. Did you see quit or did you see a surrender? And I haven't seen that. There just wasn't a cohesiveness yet to this season, and this season's got a long way to go yet. And you're right in the thick of things, still knocking on the door of a playoff spot. So, part of this is maybe a general manager saying, "I'm not giving up on this season yet."
So, Kerbs, if they haven't quit and they've lost 4 in a row, and several of those have been to the dregs of the league, is that as alarming as anything? If we're getting the most out of this team that we can?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. No, listen, if you look at the roster to me, and you know me, guys, I got those my 2 philosophies of broadcasting. The first thing is I wouldn't say anything on the air I wouldn't say to a guy's face, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. Okay, well, look at this roster from a very honest standpoint. I think Jake Neighbors is performing to a level at or above where you'd expect him to be right now. I'm going to put Oscar Sundqvist in that group as well. I think 12 points for Oscar Sundqvist in 27 games in a third and fourth line role situation and what he's brought to the table, I'm happy with Oscar Sundqvist. And Robert Thomas is the one where you're going, okay, you're looking at a guy that's got 27 points in 27 games. He's been fantastic on the faceoff dot. He's playing at every situation. I think you've got to be pretty happy with the play of Robert Thomas this year. Now you go, could there be more from him? Yeah, I think there could be better execution, specifically on the power play. A lot better execution on the power play. So that's why you hesitate there. I'm not sure that there's anybody else on the roster that you sit there at the moment and say you're getting, everything out of them right now. And to me, that's players have to look inwardly, and before a culture gets really bad and that starts to twist at you, you've got to try something. And unfortunately, that's resulted in a coaching change. And, sometimes these things work, as we saw with Craig Berube in 18-19, and sometimes they don't. But, we'll see where this one goes. Doug, I don't believe that Doug Armstrong's a smart hockey guy. Doug Armstrong knows what he's got with this roster right now. He knows where he's at in this transition. I think whether it be looking for just a different evaluation, on where things are. He's bringing in Drew Bannister, who has been a coach in this organization now for 5 years and has coached. I mean, he's coached an absolute, like, from a minor league standpoint, Drew Bannister's coached Cairo, Costin, Butler, Blay, McEachran, Wallman, Mikola, Sanford, Hofer, Bennington, Torabchenko, Tucker, Alexander. Like, this is not a guy coming in that doesn't know what's going on with the organization right now.
Curbs, I've said it before that it's easier to get rid of one coach as opposed to multiple players. So if Drew Bannister isn't able to get these players, as you said, he's coached a lot of them. If he's unable to get these players to play with motivation or play with effort, what's the next step?
Well, the next step is, I don't mean this facetiously, but I mean, the next step is you hope you get another high draft pick. I mean, there's another reality to a team in transition, and that is, look, you look at what Dvorsky's doing, you know, in junior hockey right now. You look at what Snuggerud's doing. You know, you're hoping that you're going to get development from, from Dean and from Bolduc down there, right? So put all that together, and if the season doesn't go, you know, as Doug Armstrong said, he wants to be competing this year with the top level of that middle third. If it doesn't go that way, another high draft pick is not the worst thing in the world if you're going to be honest with your fan base in terms of, you know, building, you know, towards the long-term part of the future. So, you know, this is Carey, this is one of those, and you talked about it, and especially in a salary cap era, it's not as easy to turn a roster over. It's just not as easy to make changes and to adjust certain things if guys are underperforming contracts. And the reality of it is, you're right. You can only make one change in this case, and that's the coach. And that's also, guys, an unfair part of this business, but that is a reality of sports, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It is a very harsh reality. And just kind of going back to the leadership that we've seen, and we talked about this morning, Curbs, and I know that when you didn't like the phrase, and I totally agree with you. I'm just asking it about when you're talking about losing the room, because people, I feel like, are just searching for answers at this point about how we got to this point. And you guys were talking about it on the broadcast last night after the game. How much has it hurt this team in getting us to this point of losing a lot of those veteran voices over the recent years?
Well, listen, it's a completely different team. You know, you're replacing O'Reilly and Barbashev and Tarasenko and go back, you know, Schwartz and the other guys since the Cup championship, and even the ones you couldn't control. You know, the career-ending injuries to Steen, Bouwmeester, and Gunnarsson. You're replacing. You're replacing those guys with players that either aren't ready yet. You don't forget, you're talking about when Ryan O'Reilly came in and did what he was doing, right? They hadn't won in Colorado. They hadn't won in Buffalo. He was ready to win, and he found his niche here, right, in St. Louis. Bouwmeester had never made the playoffs. 9 years in the league, had never made the playoffs until he was with the St. Louis Blues. And that was a third overall pick, right? Mm-hmm. So some guys, in all fairness, aren't ready to step in yet and be at that level. So I'm not so sure that in some aspects we're comparing apples to apples. I don't know that it's fair yet to compare Robert Thomas to a Ryan O'Reilly. You know, I don't know that it's fair to compare a Jordan Kyrou to a Tarasenko or a Jaden Schwartz yet when you look at where they're at in their careers and where those other guys were when they finally stepped in and won a cup. Even the leadership of an Alexander Steen and where he's at and when things finally came together and they won the cup as a team. So I don't know that the comparisons are always fair, but you are not dealing with the same level of experience and drive with this current group as a whole that you had with that other group.
Curbs, thanks for reaching out this morning. I was going to text you and try to get you on, so we appreciate you coming on early after a late night, and we know you've got a busy day ahead. We appreciate your time as always, and have a great one.
All right, you three. We'll talk to you during the week.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. That is the voice of the Blues here on 101 ESPN, Chris Kerber. Coming up next, get your text in to the Air Comfort Service. Text line for Take It or Leave It, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. Tioli next on 101 ESPN. So maybe you were putting up your Christmas lights and realized that your gutters are in terrible condition. If you don't know where to turn, then I recommend you get in touch with my friends at Gutter Pros at gutterpros.com. Now is the perfect time to get a free estimate on gutters and also a great time to have new gutters installed. Gutter Pros works year-round, and with the exception of ice and snow, they can install gutters even in the winter, and they do a lot more than just gutters. They'll do fascia and soffit, and they'll do siding, but they specialize, as their name would indicate, in gutters, Gutter Pros. And a lot of times you'll have, and you don't even realize it, gutters that are worn out. And when you get in touch with Gutter Pros, they're going to come out to your house or business anywhere in the St. Louis metro area and give you a great free estimate. They are here in St. Louis. They provide lien waivers with all of their invoices. They're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews. And the staff and the people are just so nice and so great to work with. And you know what? They're from St. Louis, and that makes a difference. They know you. They know us at Gutter Pros. So if you notice that your gutters are in terrible condition and you want new ones and you need new ones, there's only one place to go as far as I'm concerned, and that's Gutter Pros at Gutter Pros, Gutter Pros, gutterpros.com.
Take it or leave it.
Want to say something? Put it out there. If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your take it or leave it.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
We welcome your texts. The text line, brought to you by Air Comfort Services, is 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. All right, kids, here is the take it or leave it. So the Blues, way back in 2018, they fired Mike Yeo, and they went on to win the Stanley Cup. Take it or leave it, the 2023-2024 St. Louis Blues win the Stanley Cup.
Oh, 2022-23?
No, 23-24 this year, this season.
23-24.
So it was November 20th that the Blues fired Mike Yeo.
first
It
I
is
was
December 13th that they fired Craig Berube. 5 years later.
Yeah, I'm going to have to leave that one.
Okay. They were worse off when they were in last place in January that year.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody thought they were dead in the water.
I think they think that right now, too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's...
Nobody thought they were going to win in 2019.
I don't think anybody should think that this year either.
No.
Now, if they do...
Except for Panger. I will never forget, Panger actually predicted it. I had him on Blues Weekly, and it was around January 1st, and they were in last place. And he said, I think that they're going to go on a run and win a Stanley Cup. And I thought he was absolutely nuts.
He probably wouldn't say
Somebody
that this
should
year.
say it this year, and let's see how it goes. So you all know I'm a Warriors fan. I love the Warriors. Draymond Green, my guy, got ejected again last night. So in his career, he's been ejected 18 times from a game. A couple of those ejections come from a kick to the groin, a chokehold. Last night was a forearm shiver. Take it or leave it. Draymond has a career in the WWE when he retires.
Well, I'm going to take that.
I'm going to take that.
Maybe not a career, but at least an appearance, because he's going to wind up on TNT.
He's going to do some great things.
His signature move is going to be the chokehold.
Kick to the groin.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
That's the move.
Yeah. Total basketball move.
Total basketball move.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it, guys. Jordan Kyrou will probably get booed this
I will
next
take
game.
that.
So.
Yeah, I will take that.
And you know what? I think it's unfair to blame one person solely for the firing of Craig Berube. We talked about whipping boys a couple of weeks ago, last week, and who was the whipping boy of the St. Louis Blues. It is Krug. It is Kyrou. But this team collectively is what got Craig Berube fired.
Yes.
It's not one person. It's not one play. It's the collective effort or lack thereof
But
that
all
has gotten him
Blues
fired.
fans look for is for you to try hard.
Yeah, and and again, that's been my pet peeve all season
But
long.
if your highest paid guy isn't trying hard, then he's going to become
Randy,
a
what
whipping
if he
boy.
is trying hard? What if this is
That's
what
scary.
if
He's a
what
floater.
if this is all he has?
No, that's impossible.
I would hope not.
Because he's a floater. He stands around. He can at least skate. Everybody can move their feet.
I think that they have to. I mean, I've never been on a team where a coach got fired in season. I told you all, my Coach Ron Turner, got fired a few years after I left Illinois, and I felt blame for it. I wasn't even on the team, but I felt like it was partially my fault because I didn't do enough to prepare the people after me to make sure that they kept going and playing with the same energy and effort. It was going downhill my senior year. I saw it. I saw guys coasting and not working hard in the weight room and not working hard in practice, and it wasn't great.
Here's what some of these guys deserve. They deserve to have Mike Babcock come in and start looking at pictures on their phones.
No.
Yes.
Well, there's a
Show me your
Babcock
phone.
on the team.
Yeah, show me. Let's see what's important to you. Nothing hockey here.
That's what they deserve.
You got a lot of models on IG. I see that's important. Okay.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah. All right.
That's what they deserve.
Tighten this up, fellas.
Let's tighten this
Hockey.
up.
All right, Matthew, what do you got on the text line there?
Do that hockey.
A lot of similar thoughts, so let's dive in. Take it or leave it. Craig Berube was the victim of circumstance, but Doug Armstrong should have been the one who was fired. He's the one who traded away all the great players and fan favorites, and he's responsible for multiple bad contracts.
Ooh.
Well, the last part is right. I don't know that who'd he trade away? Who was the great player that he traded away? Guys left in free agency.
Do you count Ryan O'Reilly and
Yeah, well,
Tarasenko?
Yeah, but the sad thing is that hockey has a salary cap.
Yes, I know. That's the thing. And that's the issue here is there's a counter argument with the cap.
Yeah.
I still can't get over the Pietrangelo thing, which that wasn't a trade, but
No, but and now, again, hindsight being 2020, but if Jordan Kyrou is making $8 million a year, and so is Robert Thomas, let's not leave him out of this conversation, and Petro would have stayed for 8 with the no movement, what would you rather have? If you were going to make a trade, would you rather have Alex Pietrangelo right now on your roster at $8 million or Kyrou or Thomas?
yeah.
I think I'd rather have Petro. Right? Again, 2020 hindsight, but that appears to be, and JR broke this down very well in his piece at The Athletic. If you haven't read it yet, you should. That was the first domino to where we are today.
Yes, 100%.
That was actually one of the texts we got earlier. Take it or leave it. The roster Armstrong has constructed does not match the personality of Berube, hence the firing.
So I think as a coach, first of all, those things should tie hand in hand. Who you bring in and your philosophy, your style, those things have to match. But as a coach, it also is your job to understand the players that you have and understand that if you got Nebraska's offensive line and Lawrence Phillips and you don't have you and Tommy Frazier, you're probably going to run the triple option. You aren't going to spread them out and try to throw the ball downfield 45 times a game. Understanding your personnel, understanding who you are, and understanding how you can win games and the best way for you to win games. So I think those two things go hand in hand. Now, you should hire people that align with the philosophy of the coach, but if you have people that aren't, as a coach, your job is to get the most out of your players however you have to get it out of them.
And I'm going to take this, but I truly do believe, and I don't think Doug Armstrong's off base, I just think that they don't have the talent. This has become, hockey used to be a hard work-based league. The NHL, you could win with, and the Devils did it for years, you could win with not spectacular talent if you were willing to work hard and play a system. That doesn't exist anymore. You have to have great talent now. When you look at the teams that are winning Stanley Cups, the ones that have won Stanley Cups since the Blues won in 2019, when you look at the Lightning, when you look at the Colorado Avalanche, when you look at the Vegas Golden Knights, it is a talent-based league now, and you can't afford to have lesser talent and expect them to win. The Blues didn't have any MVPs in 2019. Now, when you look at Kucherov, and you look at Stamkos, and you look at Hedman in Tampa, or when you look at McKinnon, and you look at Cale Makar in Colorado, or when you look at Eichel and Petro, you've got, and a guy like Mark Stone, you've got guys that are big-time talented players in each of those franchises, and the Blues don't have those guys.
Mm-hmm. And you even look at the change in the defensive structure this season, which was something they had to do, but you can change it all you want, but you can't force guys to have that fight and that will, that want to, and that's still missing this season.
It is. Yeah, it's just... It's a weird roster composition. But I am going to leave it because I think at the end of the day, if you provide Craig Berube with competitive players, and when code in hockey is we didn't have enough compete, that means we didn't try hard enough. If you provide Craig Berube players that try hard, then they're going to be fine. But when there isn't enough compete, that means they aren't trying hard enough.
Does that almost make you think now, looking back at the Shin, if you look that maybe the writing was on the wall with this, Shin's comments, does that kind of make it seem like Shin, maybe whether he knew or he didn't, he was kind of trying to make it clear to people that there was something else going on, that this wasn't a coaching issue. He didn't say that in his comments. He really clearly pointed out this was a player issue.
Right. And by the way, Craig Berube's going to go somewhere, and he's going to succeed again. As we mentioned earlier, he didn't turn into a bad coach. He, as Carey would say, he turned into a good coach with bad players.
Yes.
There's a perfect one to go out on then. Take it or leave it. Firing Berube is the first step of a new Bowman curse for the Blues.
Oh, man.
No.
Yeah, take it. I'm a Blues fan. Yeah, I got to take that. Yep. Got to buy some black salt and a mirror and a bucket. And a picture of Craig Berube.
How do we got a sage? You got to walk around like Kyrie did at the what was it, the TD Garden, just walk around with the sage.
Miles Michaelis did it too for the Cardinals.
Gotta do something, man.
We got to sage it.
Get there early.
All right.
Yeah.
So
bring your sage.
We appreciate your texts. Coming up, we're going to go into a dark place here. Was this a mercy killing or did they shoot a hostage? That's next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you are considering selling your home either in the next couple of weeks or in 2024, I can tell you for sure you need a reliable, experienced, and trusted real estate sales agent. And Gloria Lou is the one you need to call at 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888. You can get Gloria to be your agent, and she's going to sell your home. As a matter of fact, the name of her company is Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and her name is The Promise. And really, it says it all. Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria's mastered the home selling promise by guaranteeing upfront and in writing to sell your home at your agreed to price and time frame, or she'll buy it herself, and that's guaranteed. No other agent compares to that or can do better than that. She has all kinds of different solutions to sell your home. So if you want to sell your home for the most money and in the least amount of time, Gloria's the person to talk to. Her number, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Fresh perspective on the day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
Keep using those D-zone face-off exits. We looked at them this morning here. If you got to rim it D, rim it hard. Forwards, get out there, battle it out. Make sure we got to push the pace here. Trust your teammates out there to do their job, okay? Let's be aggressive. Get on the puck. We don't have it. Puck pressure everywhere. Get on them and be physical. Get to our forward check as quickly as possible, and let's get on this in defense right away. Hammer them. Get in there, be physical, make sure our second man's quick. We talked about that O-zone, maybe climbing higher with their F3, shoot the puck and get to the net. Make hard plays, support each other. 5-man units in all 3 zones. Need numbers around the puck all night. Let's go, boys. Pump it up here. We're here for a reason, because we're a good hockey team, and we're going to come home with a cup here tonight. Let's go. Sonny, Bo, Perry, Benner. Let's go.
Oh, that's as good as it gets.
I love that speech so much.
One of the all-time best. One of the all-time best. Wow. Craig Berube fired. So, and the question becomes, and Carey, you wondered this, was Craig Berube last night just saying, just get me out of here. Just get me out of here. You know, it's enough. Could it be a mercy killing?
If I had to sit there and watch players not do, Randy, I've done this. Like, right? I have literally called a play and watched another play with my own 2 eyes and wonder, what the hell is that? Like, what did I say something wrong? Did I misspeak? I've watched it, and it's easier on a high school level, right? Because, you know, these are young men that are, you know, they're trying their hardest. Some of them may go on to play college football. Some of them may never play football again. You can accept the mistakes on a lower level when you're dealing with younger athletes. What you cannot accept is athletes that are being paid, this is their job, this is their career, this is what you do for a living, and when they're not performing when they're not doing the simple tasks that you work on every day in practice, that is not being transitioned to a game, it can become frustrating. And if I'm Craig Berube, I'm not saying that this is what happened, but I'm saying it possibly could be what happened. He said, you know what? This is not going to go in the right direction. They are not buying into what I'm telling them or asking them to do. Get me out of here. I know it's going to happen eventually. Do it now instead of waiting on it. Just cut the cord, man. Just get it over with. Let's not pretend that we don't see the writing on the wall, as you said, Brooke. We know what's going to happen eventually. So if it's going to happen eventually, it might as well happen now. Get it done with, and let's get out of here because I cannot stomach. And you know what? If I have to sit here another night, I may be charged with assault because there's no way in hell I'm going to sit on this bench and keep watching this nonsense. That could possibly be what took place last night around 11 p.m.
I'm sure. And Chief, I think he would definitely throw down 100%. 100%. But you could tell that frustration was there. And somebody from the 636, when we were talking about writing on the wall, brought up this point. You saw the writing on the wall as soon as Army gave Thomas and Kyrou an 8-year contract. You're not signing those style of players for that long and expecting them to fit with Berube's philosophy. Army has been planning this change since last year. Do you guys think that this is a change that was coming inevitably just this soon?
No.
I didn't expect it.
I didn't either. And especially last year when Armstrong told the players, hey, the coach isn't going anywhere. The players are going to go somewhere. I don't think that this was in the works. I do think that there may have been a time when the Blues took their time in giving Berube an extension a few years ago, and Jim Montgomery was still on the staff. I think there may have been a time then where the belief was that the team wouldn't succeed to the level that it did, and there was a thought of perhaps promoting Montgomery. But I think now that Army had kind of bought in to what Berube was doing. And so this brings us to the other possibility here. Could have been a mercy killing, or DeMarco Farr said that this was one of the lines that they used as a wake-up call, and it goes to criminals. Sometimes you got to shoot a hostage. Sometimes you got to wake people up, to make them know that you're serious.
Yeah.
If you're in a hostage situation, sometimes the criminals, the bad guys, do it. And maybe this is the ultimate wake-up call for this group of players, because there are a lot of them that appear to have a great deal of respect for Craig Berube.
Could it be both? Is that a possibility here?
It's possible.
Because that's what it feels like, right?
I mean, yeah, maybe. But I feel like I don't know that there's anything. If your coach is telling you every single day, if the media is showing you, if you're watching the film and watching the tape and seeing yourself, what brings you to do your job more than actually watching yourself on film and not doing your job? And Randy, I tell you, Brooke, this is the God's honest truth. Every player that has played at any level, when you sit there and watch film, you know the exact play and the exact time of the exact situation 2 minutes before it's about to pop up on that screen, and you are sitting there with a pit in your stomach like, oh, my God, please don't do this. I know what I did, man. I don't need to see. But you know it, but a lot of your teammates have no clue of what took place yet. And so you're sitting there, and that film is just clicking away, and it's clicking, and it's winding down to that moment where you just did what you know you did, and you know it's terrible, and you put it on film, and you're watching, and there's a feeling inside of you. Any player that has watched film that is listening right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. When you're sitting there watching that and you have to sit there and go through that, and the sheer embarrassment of your peers watching you perform in a way that is not what they are accustomed to seeing, if that doesn't get you motivated to be better, nothing will.
And that's the point, right? Is that's what makes players special, is if they can sit through that. Of course, you don't like to sit through that. As you mentioned, it's a very painful experience, but some players will fold under that pressure and others will rise to the occasion and see that they need to do better. I feel like there's been times this season where players didn't step up. You know who did step up was Jake Neighbors, which is fantastic, but he's not the one who signed for that much money.
Yep. There is your, I guess that was our fresh take here on 101 ESPN. It's we're fresh. Yeah. Good. That was fresh.
Fresh-ish.
Yeah. And by the way, if you think I'm thinking about like hostage situations around the world, if you think that I go there in my daily being, no, I think about sports. All I think about is sports, okay? So just when you listen to me think about Randy thinking about literally everything in his life from a sports prism. I don't go outside sports, okay? So if you think I'm being insensitive or something because of a bank robbery that might have occurred in Belgium, I'm not thinking about that, okay? I'm thinking about sports and I'm thinking about analogies. So, and if you don't like it, that's tough.
When I think Randy Karraker, I think Belgian current events.
There you go. Yeah, I'm just all in on that stuff. So, come on, people. And I know that 99% of you get it, but for the ones that don't, I just wanted to make that little explanation. All right, Jeremy Rutherford, kind enough to join us next on 101 ESPN. Hey, guys, I want you to get your energy up to the level that you want it to be at. And, fatigue and lack of energy is a sign of low testosterone. And that's an issue that can be solved at Mantality. They have great clinics in Chesterfield and in South County. I'm going to stop by Mantality today for my weekly FDA-approved testosterone treatment. What they do at Mantality, and when you make your appointment, just go to lowtusa.com, make your appointment at one of their clinics. And what they're going to do is a complete panel on your blood work to find out where your testosterone level is. And then every 8 weeks, you get your blood work checked to make sure that you are where you want to be in terms of your testosterone level. And once they get you to the level that you want, you'll be amazed at how great you feel. You won't be fatigued and tired all the time. Some of that moodiness and irritability that you're dealing with will go by the wayside, and you'll feel mentally sharper, and you won't feel the stress that you feel right now. And it really does make a difference in your life when you go to Mantality. I use it. You should too. They're going to work with your insurance company to keep your out-of-pocket expenses low. Go to lowtusa.com and set up your appointment today, guys, so that you can be the guy that you want to be. And you can feel like you want to feel at Mantality.
Notes and nuggets. It's time for the Rutherford Report with our Blues insider, Jeremy Rutherford. Brought to you by Scott Lee Heating Company, a proud Mitsubishi Electric Elite contractor.
Yeah, I think we should. If you look at, I'd love to get third place. I think that I think third might be an easier thing to get than one of the two wild card spots. So I think we should be competitive. But again, it doesn't really matter what I think or what anyone thinks. It's what we're going to do. I think we should be competitive with the groups with that. If you break the league into thirds, I hope to be in competitive with that middle third, and I hope to be at the top end of that middle third. That's our goal going in. And
that's Doug Armstrong on October 11th. 2 months later, he has fired his head coach, Craig Berube, and Drew Bannister, the head coach at Springfield, has been promoted as the Blues interim head coach. That was a quote that was referenced by Jeremy Rutherford in a great piece this morning at The Athletic. If you haven't read it, you need to. JR was up late and gets up early to join us here on the opening drive. JR, first of all, thank you very much for joining us on a short night's rest. We do appreciate it.
Anytime. You guys are my favorite show in St. Louis from 7 to 10.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Which is,
appreciate that.
And he was just on another one. So let's start with this. Your reaction when you got the word last night that the Blues had relieved Craig Berube of his head coaching duties.
Yeah, surprised and admittedly a little shocked as well. I felt like the losses to Chicago, Columbus, might be the start of something. I did not know that something would happen last night. I go back to the comment that you guys just played. You go back to asking Doug Armstrong that question back in October, is this a playoff team? And he said, I'd love to get third. He did say, I'm not as worried about the standings as I am building a foundation for the future. And so as I tried to analyze this firing last night, I kept coming back to the fact that this is a retool. You wanted this team to be competitive, but you understood if it wasn't. And why did Doug Armstrong make this move? We won't know until we hear his words today at 10:30. He'll speak at Centene. But the one thing that he said is, I want to see the building and rebuilding of the foundation to get this team back to championship level. And obviously at some point, he felt that Craig Berube wasn't the guy to take that team back to that level.
Well, and JR, I was just looking at your article, and I love this quote that you have in there where it says, this was an executive issue and an execution issue, not a coaching issue. Why do you feel that way?
Yeah, because I think I've been around for 5 or 6 coaches now, and I think with each of them before this one, you felt that, okay, I can see why the coach needs to go. This isn't working, and it's just not going to work. I felt with Craig Berube in this situation, if you had to rank the 3 things, the general manager / management, the players, and the coach, I would have Craig Berube third on that list at the bottom in terms of being most responsible. Now, I completely understand when you look at certain aspects of the team, the highs, the lows, the wins over Vegas's, the losses to San Jose, Chicago, Columbus, the power play, 7 for 63. The penalty kill is outscoring it. But I think when you look at this, the roster decisions that have been made the past few years, and I believe it starts with Alex Pietrangelo. I feel like they've been chasing the roster ever since, and it's not a team, I think, that can be competitive because of those roster situations. And then you look at some of these players, Brooke, who aren't performing. Jordan Kyrou, we can talk about him not having confidence. We can talk about the reasons, but he's got 5 goals. We can look at some of these veterans, too. Justin Falk, no goals. Some of these defensemen that are on long-term contracts that you can't move. So Craig Berube does have a lot of areas where I think this team could have been better and maybe could have been coached better, but I think his hands are a bit tied because of the situations I just mentioned.
JR, how does this team get back to championship level?
I think it's going to have to change out a lot of the roster. And I think that, were we a month ago saying and myself writing that this could be a playoff team if they played well? Yeah. And I still think that that's possible. You'll probably see Coach Drew Bannister come in, and he's a great guy, a great coach. And I think this could be a spark for the team. We saw it with Edmonton. We saw it with Minnesota. But, Carey, is it going to be real and can it last with this roster? I don't think so. So we said that last summer was a very big one for Doug Armstrong in terms of what could he do to change things around it and make this group better. And he was unable to, in part because Torrey Krug invoked his no-trade clause, which, Doug Armstrong gave him that right with the contract. So I think that it's going to be more turnover of the roster to be able to get this team back to that level.
Jeremy Rutherford with us on 101 ESPN. One quick note, JR, a baseball note. Ken Rosenthal reporting this morning that the Dodgers are discussing a trade in which they would get Tyler Glasnow and Manuel Margot from the Rays for young pitcher Ryan Pepio and outfielder Johnny DeLuca. This is at The Athletic, by the way. Financial exchange likely, deal not complete. So Tyler Glasnow probably on his way to the Dodgers. Okay, you mentioned Drew Bannister. And we haven't brought him up much, but what is it that Drew Bannister would be able to accomplish here that Craig Berube could not?
Well, I think that, first of all, it's going to be a fresh voice, and that is always a trigger with players. You know, that helps a lot of guys when you have the fresh voice come in. I also think that he's a guy who's had staying power with the organization at the American Hockey League level. You don't see that a lot of times. I mean, this is a coach who's been with the team since its San Antonio days. I think in COVID, they were in Utica, and he was helping with that staff. And then, of course, he's been to Springfield. So he's familiar with the organization. This is a lot like what Craig Berube was when he came to the Blues as an assistant coach, and then he was promoted to interim and then head coach. He was the minor league coach, just like Bannister was, really familiar with a lot of the young players, a good communicator. And I think he's got a really good relationship with Doug Armstrong. You know, this is a guy, Bannister, who's spoken regularly with Armstrong over the past 4 years or so. So, you know, I think he's going to come in. He's going to have the attention of some guys who have been struggling, hoping that he can get them going. And he's a good coach. So, you know, I want to separate the two things here, Randy, and that I think that this was a tough decision to see with Craig Berube. As I mentioned, I think there were a lot of other bigger issues, but at some point you have to move on from that, and Drew Bannister is going to be the coach. And I think that in terms of an interim coach, until you settle on who your guy is going to be, you know, this is a good choice.
I just have to ask you, as we're just kind of reminiscing about Craig Berube and everything he's done for the Blues this morning, what was your favorite moment? I know that we played that speech earlier, Game 7. I think a lot of people say that, but is there another moment that you really enjoyed of Craig Berube's?
Well, yeah, I think that, you know, the speech has to be probably number one. And that was so interesting because, Brooke, I think I was sitting next to you in Boston for Game 7 up there in the press box. And I don't know that we heard that speech, at least I didn't, until afterwards. You're just so busy with the game. And so sometimes, you know, my 10-year-old son will repeat the speech, but we have to bleep out the cuss words as Berube got the team ready for the game. You know, I guess the one that's going to stick out for me, and there's plenty, but it's got to be the hand pass, because we were waiting outside that locker room like a herd of cattle trying to get in. And the game against San Jose, you have the hand pass that helps the Sharks win the game, and we go in the locker room and put the microphone in 5 players' face and ask them, and they all looked at us like we were silly, like we were worried that was going to hurt them. And so when all these players look at you and tell you that it's no big deal, we're going to move on, you said, Craig Berube came into this room and said something. So I'll never forget talking to Larry Robinson. You know, that guy, 10 Stanley Cups. He's been around the league as long as he's been playing hockey. And he said, I've never seen anything like that. That was a great show of leadership. And so when Larry Robinson says it, that's something that I think will stick here in St. Louis with a lot of people.
JR, great work at The Athletic. We advise everybody to go check out the piece that you wrote this morning on the heels of the Blues firing Craig Berube, and great insight for us this morning. Thanks so much for getting up early. We do appreciate it, and we will talk to you soon.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, guys. Have a good day.
See you. You too. That's Jeremy Rutherford from The Athletic. He's covered the Blues for years. I'm just trying to think of where Craig Berube is going to land to haunt the Blues.
To haunt the Blues.
Where is he going to go? Where he will haunt the Blues?
The Wild fired their coach, right?
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Is that where we're going
John
here?
Hines. Although I don't think Hines is interim. It's there'll be somewhere. Nashville.
Yes.
Nashville.
I like how you added the vol.
Yeah. Nashville.
It's important.
Yeah. Well, there'll be someplace. Oh.
Did you find it?
Calgary.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is that the landing spot for?
There's going to be someplace. Anaheim. They got a new coach. There's going to be someplace. Chicago.
That's what I was thinking.
It'll be pretty quickly.
Chicago.
How quickly will he get hired elsewhere?
You won a Stanley Cup. I think he's got a ton of respect around the league. And we think of him as old school because of the way the Blues play. But he's new school in his communication ability.
Yes, he really is. I think that a lot of people, you see very much that stern, and even he doesn't have much to say sometimes in his press conference, but he is very fiery too in his press conference. But he really is a great communicator. That story that JR just told us, that's one of, many stories. Somebody pointed out another one of my favorites, the Carl Gunnarsson story at the bathroom.
Yep.
Yeah, there's so many stories with Craig Berube and how great of a communicator he is.
And maybe Alexander Steen or Schenner will tell the story about how he changed the culture of that team so quickly and so dramatically when he took over in 2018, because there were people that wanted out. They were tired of 91. They didn't know where 91 was going to be on the ice, and the coach went to players and said, "Hey, check your ego at the door. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Just worry about what you're doing. And if we do that, then we have a chance to win a Stanley Cup." And the players bought in and won a Stanley Cup. So we're going to miss him. He's legendary in St. Louis. He's the first coach to bring a Stanley Cup here. He's legendary.
Do they retire a seat at the bar at O.B. Clark's for Craig Berube?
Or the Hive over here, no doubt about it.
Yes,
yeah.
He loved O.B. Clark's.
Yeah,
I'm saying this like he's gone, but he's gone from St. Louis, but still, I think you have to have like a little seat reserved for him at O.B. Clark's.
And by the way, if Drew Bannister is the interim, and I know it's been a long time since the Blues hired Joel Quenneville the first time, it was 1997 they hired him the first time. But Joel Quenneville has 3 Stanley Cups under his belt, and he's, speaking of O.B. Clark's.
Was that his spot?
Oh, brother. Yeah. So if he can get back in the league, that would not break my heart. Coming up, we've got The Fight on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're looking for the perfect gift for everybody on your holiday list, give them the gift of me time with a Massage Envy, gift card that they can use for a massage or a facial or a stretch session. Now through December 31st, when you buy $100 in gift cards at Massage Envy, you're going to get a free $20 promo card to keep for yourself or add to someone's gift. It really is relaxing, and it really does make somebody's year when you give them a Massage Envy gift card as a stocking stuffer for the holidays. Massage Envy, where better begins.
Winter is here. The air is getting colder. Your energy bills will be at an all-time high, and now is the time to replace those windows with 0% interest for 5 years and up to 50% off of all styles of windows. Now is the perfect time to protect your family from the elements, lower your energy costs, and upgrade the look and feel of your home. Just reach out to Window Nation at 866-90-NATION or go online at windownation.com. New windows can save you up to 30% on your energy bills and give you that home that gives the neighbors the look and feel. They want to know where you got those windows from. Well, it's Window Nation. Check them out. See how you can get your home looking as beautiful as theirs with new windows from Window Nation. The average installer has installed over 20,000 windows with 16 years of experience. All they do is windows. They'll measure the window 3 times to ensure the proper fit, make sure it looks good, feels good, and all of it will be taken care of. Reach out to them at 866-90-NATION or go online at windownation.com and tell them Carey sent you.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. The Blues last night fall to the Red Wings 6-4, and then after the game, they fire head coach Craig Berube. Springfield Thunderbirds coach Drew Bannister will take over for the Blues, and they'll be back in action on Thursday with a 7 p.m. puck drop facing off against the Senators. We'll have a 6 p.m. pregame right here on 101 ESPN. Also coming up, more Blues talk about the firing of Craig Berube. After the fight, Jamie Rivers joins Carey, Brooke, and Randy at 8:45. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome back to the opening drive. I'm Carey Davis, joined by Brooke Grimsley, and it is time for the fight. And our fighter today is Tom. Tom, how you doing?
Good, Carey. How you doing?
Doing well. Are you ready to take on Randy Karraker?
Well, I made the text. I better be.
All right. Valid point, sir. Here we go. With the firing of Craig Berube, the Blues became the 3rd team in the NHL to fire a head coach this season. The Minnesota Wild and which other Western Conference team? Is it the Ducks, the Sharks, or the Oilers?
The Oilers.
Craig Berube finished his Blues career tied with Joel Quenneville for the second highest points percentage in Blues history at 59%. Which coach has the highest points percentage with 65? Is it Mike Yeo, Ken Hitchcock, or Scotty Bowman?
Ken Hitchcock.
On this day in 2003, the Cardinals completed the trade that brought Adam Wainwright to St. Louis. The Cardinals sent J.D. Drew and which other player to the Braves in that deal? Was it Kerry Robinson, Tino Martinez, or Eli Marrero?
Eli Marrero.
Brooke was shaking her head. No, I was like, what?
No. I was doing something on my computer. Sorry, it went asleep, and I was just trying to wake it up. What? Wasn't telling you no. That would be bad. What was the Pittsburgh Steelers' original name at their founding? Was it the Pittsburgh Titans, Pittsburgh Packers, or the Pittsburgh Pirates? There's too many P's. Pittsburgh Pirates.
I'm going to go with the Titans.
All right, we will double check our score, and we will bring in Randy Karraker. Carey, you going to double check his score with me?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Thanks,
I was reading the question again. I'm sorry. I was just thinking.
You were just thinking. What were you thinking about?
Tighten the F up. That message that you sent us over the
tighten the fun up.
Tighten the fun up. There you go.
You know what's not fun is this right now with Berube. That's the opposite of fun.
Tom, are you having fun?
I'll tell you in about 3 minutes when Randy's done answering.
That's a great way to decide. I think you should have fun regardless, though. Randy is putting his headphones on. Randy, say hello to Tom.
Tom, good morning. How you doing?
Good, Randy. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for playing. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Tom's fun depends on your answer, so we'll see how well
His fun depends on my answer?
Yeah, I asked him, was he having fun? He said he'll know in 3 minutes after you answer.
This is like very Tony La Russa-esque then. Tony, how you doing? Ask me 10:30.
There you go. All right, Randy, here we go.
Okay, let's do it.
With the firing of Craig Berube, the Blues have become the third team in the NHL to fire a head coach this season. The Minnesota Wild, which other Western Conference team?
Minnesota Wild. Well, last night the Edmonton Oilers were on TV against the Chicago Blackhawks, and they fired their head coach earlier, and now they've got on a 7-game winning streak. So I'm going to go with the Edmonton Oilers.
For the Blues.
Yeah, let's root. Let's go Blues.
Yeah.
That's all it takes is a coaching change.
Craig Berube finished his Blues career tied with Joel Quenneville for the second highest points percentage in Blues history at 59%. Which coach has the highest points percentage with 65?
I believe that would be the one Ken Hitchcock. I believe I saw that last night.
Saw everything
or this morning.
On this day in 2003, the Cardinals completed the trade that brought Adam Wainwright to St. Louis. The Cardinals sent J.D. Drew and which other player to the Braves in that deal?
So Adam Wainwright, Jason Marquis, and Ray Burger King.
My God.
Don't know if he loved that nickname, but it was appropriate.
Carey knows how it is to have that nickname.
Yep. For J.D. Drew and Eli Marrero, who wound up coming back to the Cardinals. Oh, by the way, I'm going to go with Eli Marrero. Eli.
What was the Pittsburgh Steelers' original name at their founding?
Good question. Okay, so during World War II, there were not enough players to go around in the NFL. So the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles merged for a time to be known as the Pittsburgh Steagles. You guys know that little bit of trivia? That being said, the city of Pittsburgh was much like the city of St. Louis from 1960 to 1987 in having two teams in baseball and football with the same name, I believe. I believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers' original name, like their baseball brethren down the street, were the Pittsburgh Pirates. I think we had the New York Giants and the New York Giants. We had the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we had the St. Louis Cardinals and the St. Louis Cardinals. Did we have any others? I don't think we've had any others in the same city. Obviously, you've had Rangers in New York and Texas, and Winnipeg Jets and the New York Jets, but I don't think we've had any others in the same city like we had for those three particular endeavors.
Do Bears and Cubs count?
No, not quite.
Okay.
All right, good trivia question. You just add a trivia question onto the trivia question. I like that. I'm going to have to go find it and see what I can find.
Pittsburgh Pirates is going to be my answer.
All right, this one was a very close fight. No tiebreaker today, but a one-question win. Was it Tom coming in on a Wednesday to knock off Megamind? Or does Megamind keep rolling through this week with a 3-0 record? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Karraker.
Just win, baby.
I'm so sorry, Tom. He beat you 4-3. It was that last questions about the Steelers that got you.
Yeah. All right, it was still fun.
Three questions is pretty tricky. Let's go through those questions and answers. With the firing of Craig Berube, the Blues became the third team in the NHL to fire a head coach this season, following the Wild and the Edmonton Oilers. Wild also ripping off some wins after their firing of Dean Evanson. Berube finished his Blues career tied with Joel Quenneville with a points percentage of 59%. That's second highest in Blues history. Ken Hitchcock, 65% point percentage total for him. On this day in 2003, the Cardinals completed the trade that brought Waino to St. Louis. It was, in fact, J.D. Drew and Eli Marrero in that trade. In fact, December 13th, this is insane. December 13th might be one of the most important pitching, one of the most important days in pitching for the Cardinals since the year 2000. In 2002, this is the day they signed Chris Carpenter. In 2003, they got Jason Markey and Adam Wainwright in a trade. And in 2017, they traded away Zach Gallen and Sandy Alcantara.
Wow.
All just 5 huge pitching names all on the same day.
That's awesome.
Across 20 years. Pretty insane. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, when they were founded in the 1930s, they did, in fact, just take that name from their brethren just up the street. They were the Pittsburgh Pirates up until World War II. Did you also know they formed with the Cardinals for a little bit? And they were so bad they were called the Carpets.
That's pretty good.
That's how bad they were. Tom, thank you so much for joining the show and joining the fight today.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Coming up on 101 ESPN, we're going to talk about the Blues firing of Craig Berube with our friend Jamie Rivers, the Blues analyst on Bally Sports, and, of course, co-host of the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. Rivs next on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you're in the market for a new car or truck, you need to go to autoloanpro.com for your financing. You don't want to go into a finance director's office and have them say, okay, here's what we've got for you. At Auto Loan Pro, they have 50 different lenders that they're working with to help you get the very best financing for your car or your truck. And with vehicles now averaging $50,000, they're really expensive. You want to get the best deal on financing and get the lowest payment that you can. That's why you go to Auto Loan Pro. Little to no money down. They're going to work to get you the best rate possible. And they know at Auto Loan Pro that sometimes you lose a job. It's not your fault. Sometimes things happen and you have your credit score go down a little bit, but they're going to help you get your life and your credit back on track at Auto Loan Pro. They work all the time to make sure that you have the best deal possible. So if you're financing a car or truck, there's one thing to know. Choose the Auto Loan Pro. Go to autoloanpro.com and get your financing for your vehicle there. autoloanpro.com.
Talking everything St. Louis Blues as we head into the Blues Booth. Presented by Boardwalk Hardwood Floors, a proud partner of your St. Louis Blues. Find your perfect new floor at our 4 convenient locations and online at boardwalkhardwood.com. Brooke Grimsley, Carey Davis,
us, Randy Karraker, and to the celebrity line we go. And our friend and colleague, Jamie Rivers, who is the co-host of the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN, also the analyst for Blues Hockey on Bally Sports, joins us. Jamie, it's always good to talk to you, but these aren't the best circumstances. You have a great relationship with Craig Berube. What was your reaction last night when you heard that the Blues had fired him?
Wow, I was shocked. I really was. You know, I was winding down the evening because the old Bally Sports crew got the night off. It was an ESPN night, so I watched the game. And, you know, Randy, I'm not going to lie, enjoyed a nice little bourbon before going to bed, and I thought everything was okay. And then all hell broke loose when my phone started ringing. And I was in shock, man. I'm not going to lie. I honestly did not think that this would happen, nor did I think it would happen this early in the season. As the team underperformed, I don't know. Like, what did we expect from this team? So, I don't know. I would, to answer your question, yes, I was very surprised.
Yeah, I think all of us were very surprised this morning. And you mentioned there that what was the expectation this season? Because we played the sound earlier. We had Tom Stillman in studio, and he admitted that this was not going to be an elite group. So what is the expectation now after you fire Craig Berube?
Yeah, I don't know, Brooke. Like, you know, when you read the tea leaves, and Army is very calculated in the way he chooses his words at all times. He's a very intelligent man, and so he doesn't just say things to say them. And when he had brought up, you know, being a third-place team, or if nothing else, at least being in the middle third of the teams in the NHL, you thought, okay, well, this is what his expectations are. Well, guess what? The Blues are in the middle third of the NHL right now, and their coach just got fired. So I don't know what the expectations were. I've been around the team for the last, month, really, on the road. And, you know, I'm not inside the locker room by any means. I'm not a part of the inner workings of the team meetings. But the general overall vibe of the group has been frustrated when they lose. But it's not a frustration where you look at it and go, man, this team's about to implode. They need leadership really bad right now. So it's not like the writing was on the wall.
Jamie, we had the audio from Braden Shen over the weekend where he was just saying it's not easy to get guys to drag them into the fight. They have to be willing and want to actually play and play hard every single night. What were your thoughts about that comment?
I applauded it, quite honestly. Like, how frustrated do you think Braden Shen has to be the only guy, or one of the only guys on a nightly basis that is out there bashing into people? He's the one that's dropping the mitts, trying to get the guys going. And, like, yeah, the frustration is real. Carey, quite honestly, you know this too. Like, for me, that would have been addressed in the locker room away from the media.
No
Somebody
question.
would have been grabbed by the collar and had a little talking to, because, like, you just can't have a group of players that are satisfied with mediocrity. Like, even if you're a mediocre team. Like, I played on some bad teams, don't get me wrong. But as crazy as it sounds, like, we never believed we were bad. Like, we thought, okay, we're going to be okay. Like, at Christmas time, I remember playing for the Islanders. At Christmas time, we're almost mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. Yet we went on like a 2 or 3 game heater before the break, and we're like, hey, there's a freaking chance, man. Like, it might get in.
Always got a chance.
Yeah.
Jamie, I was telling these guys, as a player, you watch film of yourself, and there's a moment when you know you messed up on a play, and that play is coming up on film, and there's a feeling in your stomach, oh, we got to watch this, and everyone's going to see it. It's embarrassing. You have Braden Shen calling out your teammates. That's embarrassing. At what point does this team say, okay, enough is enough? Like, you're talking about having that confidence and believing in yourself. What point do they say, enough is enough? We got a coach fired. We're watching the film of ourselves. Our captain has called us out. When is enough for these guys to say, okay, we have to play and perform at the level that is expected of us as professional athletes?
Yeah, I'll get to the latter part in a second. Let's start with the film thing.
Oh, please do, because that's there's no worse feeling in the world, is it?
So here's what I'm going to say about film, because when I came into the NHL, like, it was barely there. Once every blue moon, you'd have somebody who actually recorded the game, and it was a great thing, because you could always say, you're going to say, no, man, I had my guy. Nobody remembers, right? And then all of a sudden, they come in with this VHS thing is what they called it. And all of a sudden it was the coach's best friend and the player's worst enemy because the moment you said I had my guy, he was standing all by himself for 5 seconds alone, and you're like, oh, God, that's embarrassing. So I know that feeling well, especially when you see the play developing, and then you're sitting there going, you're like, I know what's coming. I know what's coming.
You just sink down in your seat. Yeah.
Yeah. So that feeling is real. Now, to the second part of your question, when is enough? You'd think it would have been there by now.
Yeah.
You'd think it would have been missing the playoffs. You think it would have been losing to the San Jose Sharks, losing to Columbus, losing to Chicago. Like, at some point, the younger guys or some of the supporting cast, we'll call it, has to step up because I believe in Braden Shin. I do. I believe in Justin Falk. I believe in Colton Parayko. Like, there's some guys at the top of the food chain that I truly believe in. Jordan Binnington, I'm going to put him there as well. I believe in Robert Thomas. I do. I think that Robert Thomas is playing a very well-rounded game right now. Could the power play use a boost? Absolutely. But if you look at his overall game, I would say I'm happy paying him $8 million right now because I believe I'm getting pretty close to the best out of him. Now, when you work your way down the food chain from there, are there guys that are meeting expectations? No. There's a lot of guys who are not meeting expectations from an output offensively to an effort. And it's just, I don't understand it. You've had calling outs, you've had roster changes. Now you have arguably tied for first in popularity for Blues head coach in history, and that would be Joel Quenneville and Craig Berube. I don't remember Scotty Bowman, that's way before my time, but Scotty, I know Scotty, he's not that popular of a guy, okay? Like, he's a great coach, but he's not all that popular of a guy. So now you've fired one of the best coaches and certainly the most successful, not record-wise, but he won a damn cup. Nobody else won a cup.
Jamie, to your point, we have a Twitter poll up, 1,800 votes. What do you think of the Blues firing of Craig Berube? Good move, 8.6%. Bad move, 91.4%. That's a pretty representative group of people, 1,800 to define what you just said, that Berube is very popular. Remember on opening night, of all the people with the Blues, who got the biggest ovation? It was Craig Berube. He got a louder ovation than any player on that team. He was great with you guys in the fast lane every week and honest and a great communicator with the players. And I'm with you. I look at a team where the president of hockey operations, said I'd be happy in that middle tier. I look at the chairman coming on this show and saying we aren't going to be elite. We probably aren't going to be among the best teams. So what was their expectation? And we'll find out at the press conference. What was their real expectation? Because they are where they said they planned to be.
Yeah, I agree. And I saw your poll, Randy, on Twitter. I voted. I'm not going to tell you which way. I think you can figure it out.
I think we can.
Yeah, and I just look at it as a couple of ways. One, who better than someone like Craig Berube to be a part of the turnaround here? That's just the way I look at it. And the second part of it for me on a personal level is I played against Chief a lot as a hockey player, and I respected the crap out of him for so many reasons. I never feared Chief, not because he wasn't tough, just because I knew he was an honorable player. He wasn't coming after guys without reason. He wasn't cheap-shotting guys on a regular basis. Like, you kind of knew what he was about, and then that translated into his coaching career to where there are really no hidden agendas when you talk about Craig Berube, and he was amazing with the media. It's been a very short career for me so far in the media, but from the day I came on board, he's been incredible in every aspect of it, available for radio, even when they're losing, available for TV, available in the middle of a game to talk to me standing beside him on the bench when they're down by 3 goals. Like, who the hell wants that, right? Like, but he was a professional. He was a good dude. He's a stand-up guy. I'll tell you this, Randy. Craig Berube will be a free agent for as long as Craig Berube wants to be, which means by tomorrow he could have a head coaching job if he wants it, and whoever wants him after that, like, he's available. He will be hired very quickly.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Rivs, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate it, and we'll hear you this afternoon with Anthony on the Fast Lane, and we know that you'll have a lot more on this.
Yeah, you got it, guys. Thanks a lot for the call.
All right, brother. Thanks. That's Jamie Rivers, our co-host, colleague from the Fast Lane here on 101 ESPN. You have weighed in big time with your mic drops, and the next segment is going to be completely dedicated to those here on 101 ESPN. Hey, do you ever walk into somebody's house, maybe for a holiday party or a get-together or dinner, and say, man, that's beautiful flooring. Where'd you get it? And they've got it at Ambassador Midwest Floor. If you want to upgrade your flooring, there really is only one place to go to in St. Louis, and that is Ambassador Midwest Floor. They've got outlets in Chesterfield Valley and in Glendale, and I visited with Laura a couple of weeks ago at the Chesterfield Valley location, and she introduced me to so much cool stuff. They've got amazing selections of tile. They've got the new luxury vinyl flooring, which is amazing. They also have there's padded tile now. There's actually padding between tile. You need to check it out. If you haven't shopped for flooring in a while and you want your house to look beautiful, go to Ambassador Midwest Floor. Go to ambassadorfloor.com. Right now for the holidays, they'll gift wrap a digital photo frame filled with ideas that you can gift at the holidays so that you can show your family what your house will look like with new flooring. They have great tile, as we mentioned, the luxury vinyl, all kinds of different carpets, and they'll work with you to make your house look absolutely fabulous. Go to Ambassador Midwest Floor. Love your floors and experience more at Ambassador Midwest Floor. All right, your mic drops at 9:04. Time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Let's start with Dev here on 101 ESPN.
I really thought the Cardinals and Blues front offices were different, but especially after not re-signing Pietrangelo and now the firing of Berube, the Cardinals and Blues front offices are exactly the same, completely mismanaging the team and taking any sort of talent and ability that we had to make the playoffs and just completely ruining it.
Interesting take.
First, it is hard to win a championship. Let's start there. Like putting together the pieces of the puzzle, everyone gelling and meshing and doing their job effectively and at a high level every single night. That's a tough task, but it is your job. And your job is to find players, sign players, draft players that can come in and put it all together. And unfortunately, this roster and now the head coach is being fired. It has not gelled well these last few years of Blues hockey. Last season and this season have not been great. With all of the trade speculation up until the trade deadline, and then that happened, it's been tough.
Yeah, I think that also a big difference is going to be the cap, right? Because the NHL literally kind of holds you back in that regard. I didn't like a lot of the moves. I still do believe this all goes back to Alex Pietrangelo and finding a way to keep him here because of all the other corresponding moves that have not worked out since then.
Right. And Dev, if Doug Armstrong walks to the podium at 10:30 and says, I had philosophical differences with Craig Berube, then we can buy in.
Oh, God.
Joey is next.
I think the Blues just made the biggest mistake they possibly could have. I mean, go back a couple years ago, they were a goalie injury away from winning their second Stanley Cup, and that's the coach taking the team that far. That's not the GM that didn't really put much of that team together. I mean, Berube's not the one that left Pietrangelo to walk or traded away Barbashev. The cap goes up next year, right? He better find that fire and feel the pressure and sign some guys, and they better go on some sort of run. Otherwise, then I don't see how you keep Army past next season either.
Thank you, Joey. And one other point to be made here. When COVID hit, the Blues had the best record in the West, if not the best record in the league. So that might have been another cup, too.
Yeah. My whole thing, though, is what kind of run are they going to go on? And I know that we just talked about the Wild and the run that they went on after the firing of their coach, but still, I don't really know what to really expect from this moving forward because we keep talking about this. If the expectations were already kind of low or, better yet, middling going into this season, what does this change? Because they were right there. Berube was executing exactly what they had expectation-wise for this season.
Yeah, great point. And there are limits to what this group of players is capable of or what they're capable of wanting to do. And that's got to be recognized. Sure. What's Drew Bannister, our new guy?
Yes.
He might come in and they might win a few games, but is he going to get those players that have consistently not performed for Craig Berube to perform?
That's on the player. This is what
there might be. Those players might just be inherently limited, and maybe Berube was getting the most out of them.
That's what I said. That might be all that they have to give. There might not be anything left in the tank that they had. There's no extra left to put out. It's who they are. It's what they've shown. It's what they've put on film thus far. So you would have to assume that's who they are.
Let's get to James next on 101 ESPN.
And man, what a kick in the ass to Blues fans. What a classless, flippin' organization the Blues are. I had so much respect for this organization, but they suck. 12 days before Christmas. I mean, come on. Should have given the players the rest of December off. They aren't worth a stink.
I was worried there.
I didn't know where
if you had to edit or cut anything.
Oh, man. So he basically said that the Blues gave us coal for this holiday season.
Yeah, the Blues did fire a coach actually on Christmas Day one year.
Oh, that's depressing.
This is why we'll get to the audio from Army that we had last season or
last season.
Last season. Mm-hmm. But this is why I think Craig Berube was not that he quit, but he just said, you know what, this is enough is enough. Like, how much more can you pour into adults and them not respond in the adults that are being paid to do a task. It's one thing if you're volunteering. Like if you're a volunteer, you go, okay, this guy's gonna get. But if you're being paid X number of dollars, I don't care if it's $8 million or if it's $800,000 or if it's $80,000. If you're being paid to do a job and you aren't doing it, and your boss, your manager is continuously having to ask you over and over more, and you're just like, nah, I'm cool. Like, what do you want from me? What more do you want from me?
Right. Let's go to Matt, who's got a mic drop for us here on 101 ESPN.
This is asinine. Chief didn't make this roster. Chief didn't let Petro walk, didn't let Barbashev walk, didn't let Perron walk, didn't fail to protect Vince Dunn at the expansion draft. Berube didn't give Falk and Krug those contracts. Berube didn't sign Nick Leddy to another awful contract and extend Jordan Kyrou for $8 million a year. Chiefs the scapegoat here. This is the fourth coach that Army's had to fire mid-season, and at what point do we start looking at him? This is a bad day for St. Louis and a bad day for the Blues.
100%. This is a terrible day for St. Louis, and just based off of all the reactions, I think a lot of people can surmise that this was not the right decision. This is a huge mistake. Craig Berube is going to go to another team and do really, really well because he does get the most out of his players. And when we were talking earlier with Kerbs about did he lose the room, I asked that question in regards to that's what we're trying to figure out why this happened, because the expectations, as we mentioned, he has matched that this season with what the ownership and with what Doug Armstrong were saying. So what else is going on here? I don't think he lost the room. He might have lost the ear of a couple of players, but what else can you do about that?
He lost talent. Ultimately,
he did lose
he was
talent.
a coach that had talent, and he lost talent.
Yeah.
Let's get to, is this Matt next? Was that Matt?
Randy.
We're going to get Randy, not me, but somebody else that offered us a mic drop.
I think this is a 100% Doug Armstrong problem. Berube's the fall guy, just like the coaches of the Cardinals have been for John Mozeliak. Load the team up with bad contracts, middle-of-the-road talent, and make poor personnel decisions, and then fire the coach for it. It is not going to change by making a coaching change. It's not. I know we can go back to 2019, but you basically got saved by a hot goaltender in 2019 and a prime Ryan O'Reilly. You don't have that now. And, we used to have a saying about the Rams, same old sorry Rams. Well, I have a feeling we're in for a stretch of historical St. Louis Blues.
That would be bad, but it also would be fitting, because that is the Blues history. By the way, latest on the poll at Randy Karraker on X, formerly Twitter. What do you think of the St. Louis Blues firing of Craig Berube? We have more than 2,000 votes now. Good move, 8.3%. Bad move, 91.7%. And as we know, Twitter is a guide for the way America feels.
It's really how this is the answer to all questions in life.
Yeah.
If they say it on Twitter, then it's true.
Yeah.
So don't question us.
It's real, right? Everything's real on Twitter or X.
Yeah. I just like to call it Twitter. Does Elon get mad when you call it Twitter?
Probably.
Probably. Elon probably does.
Yeah, Twitter.
Yeah.
They just call it Twitter.
Yeah, let's keep calling it Twitter then. That'll be fun. Good. All right, during this show, we're going to talk to our friend John Ulett. We don't know if we're going to have you, man, in the next segment or at 9:30. There's a great event that is going to honor John Ulett coming up in February. We're going to talk to him about that, and he may be in next. If not, some interesting comments from the past from Doug Armstrong here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
Hey everyone, it's Brooke here, and I want to tell you about my experience with MetroLink. I took it over to a Blues game recently, and Randy, it was just a really easy thing to do. I have a MetroLink right over by my house, so I didn't have to worry about parking or anything like that. I just literally walked over, and I was able to get my tickets that day, and it was just $5. I used the app to figure out what I need to do, hopped on the MetroLink, and it took me right over to the Enterprise Center, and I know that the Blues are going to be home here for a little bit, so if you want to go over there and maybe even yell about Craig Berube being fired, you can take the MetroLink over to Enterprise Center, and it's so easy to do.
And there's so many things you can do. If you're going to go see the Polar Express over at Union Station, or if you're going to be around Grand Center, if you're going to be around that area for the holidays, it's so convenient just to hop on MetroLink and take it over there. And you can explore the city without the stress of driving and parking. Metro can take you to many different popular attractions and events. If you need flexibility, well, Metro offers various options and schedules to accommodate a busy lifestyle. So in short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive. Brooke, Carey, and Randy, the Blues have fired head coach Craig Berube, and Drew Bannister will take over as the Blues interim head coach tomorrow night when the Blues host the Senators. It's a 6 o'clock pregame and a 7 o'clock faceoff here on 101 ESPN. Really interesting, and obviously things change over the course of a year. This was last November. Doug Armstrong meeting with the media after a Blues slow start and an inability to, it would appear, get players motivated to give their best on a regular basis. And as Army met with the media, this is November of 2022. This is what he said about the situation.
I don't want to overreact, but we certainly can't underreact too. And one of the things I told the players that if this continues, you know, in my 30 years of watching the NHL, it's going to be okay. Well, then what happens? The coach. Well, I told the players the coach is not going anywhere because the coach came from the American Hockey League where he coached young players and made them better. And he coached veteran players and made them win here. So he can do both. So he's going to be here. I believe in the coach. I believe in the system. And this isn't a system issue. It's a competitive issue. And we have to rectify that. And I do say I do believe in the group. That's a very self-serving thing to say because I put the group together. And ultimately, it's my responsibility to judge what they do.
So what has changed in a year plus? Young players, Craig Berube coached in the American Hockey League and made young players better. Coached in the NHL and made veteran players winners. I believe in the coach. I believe in the system. That's just a year ago. I have trouble believing that Craig Berube as a coach regressed that much.
What was the date on
November
that
2nd of 2022?
12 months, 13 months ago.
Yeah.
The interesting, he said it's not a system issue, it's a competitive issue. That could have been December 12th, 2023. Like you could have used that for any point up until now in this season. It's a competitive issue. If you got guys, and how much has really changed from last season to this season? You lost a few players and you sent a few older guys away. You kept some of the younger guys, but the main core is still here, right? The issue is a competitive issue. That's problematic. those are the guys on the ice. I shouldn't have to beg you to compete hard every single night. I shouldn't have to beg you to do your job at a high level. That should be something that is internal, and you wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to compete my ass off for my guys that are next to me. And if not, you're not going to win many games.
Exactly. I mean, you can change the defensive structure. We were talking about that earlier. You can change the defensive structure, which is something they did, but you can't force the fight and the want to and the will in the guys there. I mean, if you even look at last night, Torrey Krug in those situations, he was right there, and he didn't even tie up. I think it was either Jake Wallman or Robbie Fabry. He was right there. He was in the right position, but didn't execute properly. And that's something not just Torrey Krug, but we've seen that several times this season from multiple players where the effort is not consistent. And that's exactly what Braden Shin, your captain, said this past weekend. And he probably didn't know. Nobody knew that this was coming. But the fact that Braden Shin said that this past weekend where he made those comments, I think it's very telling that he wanted to make sure that people knew that there was something going on specifically in this room where the intensity level is not consistent from players.
As a player, you know that you're not performing well enough, and somebody's going to lose their job because of it.
Yeah.
This is professional. This is what you do for a living. There's no confusion. There is no misunderstanding. I've had coaches literally tell me, I tolerate you all until I can replace you. Our job is to find someone to replace you every day. Your job is to not allow that to happen. As a coach, your job is to make sure guys are doing their job, and if they aren't, it's not always your fault, but eventually someone has to get fired because of it, and that's just sports.
And here's the thing. Craig Berube can say that to Jordan Kyrou, and Jordan Kyrou can say, fine, try to replace me. I'm making $8 million a year for the next 7 years. And Torrey Krug can say, you know what, fine, try to replace me. I'm making $6.5 million for the next 4 years. It's different when the guy has an absolutely guaranteed contract and isn't beholden to go anywhere. Coaches can say anything they want, but ultimately in the sports with guaranteed contracts, if the players want the coach out, they can get the coach out.
Well, your best players have to be in the same mindset. You look at Tim Duncan and the San Antonio Spurs. Mm-hmm. He's the best player. He's the hardest working player. Greg Popovich can get on him, and if I can get on Tim Duncan, guess what? Robert Horry, you're probably going to pay attention. Yeah, everybody else, Sean Elliott, you're going to pay attention. Like you're going to be dialed in because your best player is dialed in. If your best player is not bought in, or whoever is considered your best player, if they aren't all aligned, you're not going to have a good team. There's going to be a fraction in that team trying to figure out who is the actual leader of the team.
But Carey, one of the things you see, some players, doesn't matter what they're making, they're going to give everything they have all the time, right?
Yes.
Other players, doesn't matter what they're making either, they aren't going to give their all the time. And I would say that one of the things that Craig Berube has been an abject failure at in the last 4 years is defining what players to play, because you need to study their work habits. You need to study their desire. You need to study how much they love the game. And he admitted last year, we all know that he was talking about Kyrou when he talked about the 18-second YouTube clip versus the 18 minutes a night of playing hockey. And there are multiple players. And Verana was a bargain. They hoped they could get something out of Verana, but it ain't going to happen with him. There's a reason that Kasperi Kapanen has bounced around the league after being a first-round draft choice. Pittsburgh, Toronto, Pittsburgh, St. Louis on waivers. There's a reason that these things happen, and it's because the players aren't consistent enough with their effort. And that's something that needs to be studied before you give a player a bunch of money.
And there needs to be player-to-player accountability right now. And maybe that's what part of this move is that, okay, well, your play is what got your head coach fired. And that's a clear message right now. But the solution right now is in this room. It's in that locker room. Has nothing to do with the coaching. The solution is in that room. These players holding each other accountable. I think Braden Shin has been trying to do that. I think that other leaders in that room have been trying to do that. But it needs to be all the guys coming together and buying it and understanding that message.
And here's my fear, and I think it's a valid one, is Drew Bannister walks into that room today and says, boys, you got a good man fired. And you should be ashamed, and you need to play hard. And they might play hard for a week.
Or they might say, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
we didn't do nothing.
Yeah.
Man, listen. I think you should never have to question somebody's work ethic or their ability to their will to do their job effectively. I shouldn't have to question. I can question your talent. This guy might not be good enough. This guy might not be, as talented, but he's gonna bust his butt every single day to make sure we're in the best position. If I have to question your work ethic or your will or your spirit every time you show up, we like Jamie said, this is probably something before I go to the media and say something, I'm probably going to grab that player and say, hey, man, this ain't good enough. It's not. I'll give you an example. We played the San Diego Chargers in the divisional round, and I dropped a pass on third down. I got stopped on 4th and goal on the 1-yard line, and I'll never forget. Potsy, James Ferrier, and Larry Foote came and I was in the training room getting some treatment, and they came and sat on opposite sides of me and said, what's up, man? Come on, man. We need you. Like, we need this. And so, again, the next game was the AFC Championship game. First play of that game, I knocked someone out.
It was gorgeous.
Literally.
It was glorious.
Knocked him out because there is no way in hell I'm going to let Larry Foote and James Ferrier down when we are trying to win a championship. Knocked them out. And then on third down in that game, picked up a crucial third down late in the third quarter to make sure we kept the drive going. That's what good teammates do for one another, and that's what good teammates do to make sure that that player is on the same page. I'm not letting those guys down, and that's not going to happen.
Carey, and this is a big societal thing. You were exhibiting personal accountability.
Yes.
And it's a societal problem now. Personal accountability is a huge societal problem, even in the sports realm.
In every part of life.
Yep.
Accountability is a word that most people can't spell.
Exactly. I mean, you even see it on social media all the time where people just say things and it could be completely wrong or they are in the wrong and they'll just be like, no, they're just going to stick with their point either way. Right. Holding yourself accountable is not fun to do. It's very hard to do, but it's the right thing to do.
Yep. So you Blues players, you know who we're talking about when you're listening. That is Brooke. That is Carey. I am Randy. It's the opening drive on 101 ESPN. U-Man is supposed to join us. Do we know, Matthew? Have you seen him around? He's going to be with us next on 101 ESPN. As you go through life, you like to experience the best. And I'm telling you right now, the best trash swings that you will ever have are at the Fenton Bar and Grill on Rudder Road in Fenton. You can find them on the web at fentonbarandgrill.com. And when you stop by, heck, have lunch there today. Make sure that you order an order of trash swings before you have your meal. And today's special at Fenton Bar and Grill is their trashed tenders, tossed in that signature golden sauce over macaroni and cheese, and it is delicious. Not only do you have great food at Fenton Bar and Grill, and their menu is absolutely wonderful, but great people. Alicia will be there today. You can say hi to Kelly and Megan and Ashley and Colleen and the whole gang. They're a lot of fun, and they serve you very well. And when you go into the Fenton Bar and Grill, it's really all about the clientele. They're going to be just like us. They're going to be talking sports. We'll be talking about Craig Berube today at the Fenton Bar and Grill. You can go in and have an ice-cold beer and, heck, try their hard-working lager. The Fenton Bar and Grill has their own beer now, their hard-working lager. There's so many things to love about the Fenton Bar and Grill. Just go to the soccer park and follow Rudder Road to the Fenton Bar and Grill, and when you stop by, tell them Randy sent you. You can give the gift of relaxation this holiday season by stopping by Massage Envy and picking up a gift card for somebody in your life that needs to relax. It's really a thoughtful gift, and it's the gift of me time. Massage Envy gift cards can be used for massages or facials or stretch sessions. And now, through the end of the year, when you buy $100 in gift cards, you get a free $20 promo card to keep for yourself or add to someone else's. Massage Envy, where better begins. Offer good in location only, not available online. Terms apply. See franchise location for details. It's Massage Envy.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues last night fall to the Red Wings 6-4, and they fired head coach Craig Berube after the game. Drew Bannister will take over for the Blues. He's currently the head coach of the Springfield Thunderbirds. If you want to catch up on all the discussion around Craig Berube's firing, you can check out our Dobbs Tire Auto Centers podcast. After the show, we had the Athletics' Jeremy Rutherford, Blues broadcaster and 101 host Jamie Rivers on the show today. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Carey and Randy, one of the things that I've said ever since our company, Hubbard Radio, bought a couple of Emma stations several years ago, that one of the great honors of my career has been to work in a studio right next door to John Ulett, who has done such magnificent work at Casey for years. And U-Man joins us in studio now, along with Ron Stevens, who hired John Ulett in 1976 at Casey.
And lived to tell about it.
Yeah, and lived to tell about it. Yeah. You-Man, thanks for stopping by. Ron, great to have you with us. How you guys doing?
Good. Thanks for having us today. Ron got me involved in a little project here that I didn't think that I ever would be involved in.
I didn't think you'd say yes.
Yeah.
That amazes me.
And so, I mean, first of all, I don't see myself as that interesting of a person. So to have a stage show that kind of centers around my career and my life is something I'm getting used to.
It's amazing. It's called Love, Death, and Other Scary Things.
Actually, Life.
Life.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got
Life is a little scary.
Typo. That was my typo. I'm sorry.
Good. Life, Death, and Other Scary Things. February 29th at the Sheldon. Tickets on sale at metrotix.com, and you can get details at kc95.com. Ron, I want you to start with this. Tell us about the day that you hired John Ulett.
He actually turned the job down twice. He came highly recommended. He was 19 years old, working in Jefferson City, gets an offer to work on the #1 rock station in St. Louis, the giant KC95. And he goes, I don't think so. Turns it down twice. The third time I call him and I ask him, John, a couple days would go by, some meetings with the boss, my boss. He's not taking the job. We need this guy. We want him. Great voice. So I call him and say, John, why are you turning this job down? And he says, my mom doesn't want me to take it. he throws his mom under the bus.
I said she didn't want me to take a job at a drug hippie station.
And he outlasted all of us. Here it is 47 years later. Yeah. He's still there.
Well, I was supposed to report on May 24th, but I was playing softball with my buddies in Forest Park, and I broke my leg. So I couldn't even show up the first day that I was supposed to be there.
Wow.
And I think Shelley Grafman, who ran the station at the time, said to you, well, if you can't show up for the first day of work, get somebody else.
He did.
And Ron got me over that hump, too.
So you still owe me, pal.
So is this kind of like a little bit of a preview of what we can expect from the show, or what is a little hint of what we could expect?
Well, because it's about life, death, and other scary things, John's supposedly retiring. He still shows up here.
I know. I see him all the time.
Yeah, I don't know how this works. But, he's at that stage in his life where he's starting to think about things are changing in his life. What am I going to do now? What was my life for? What purpose did it serve? Should I just sit back and not do anything? Of course, John would never sit back and not do anything. But he's going through what everyone goes through at that age. And he has thousands and thousands of listeners, radio listeners and sports fans in St. Louis who have grown up with him that are experiencing these same feelings. So we're going to sit down and have a serious discussion about this. But, of course, we have to entertain at the same time. So there's a challenge there. We'll have a lot of surprise guests. We'll have celebrity guests. And anything can happen.
Yeah, hopefully some laughs.
Do you have were you hesitant to do this? You said you didn't think you're that, that people want to hear about you. Were you hesitant to be a part of this and decide, I guess maybe people will want to hear from me?
Yeah, I mean, I anytime you're involved in something where people have to buy tickets to it, you go, I don't know, this could be real embarrassing. So if you're out there and you're thinking about buying tickets, or maybe not thinking about buying tickets, buy them, okay? And keep me from suffering the embarrassment of nobody wants to know what's going on in my life.
Right now is a good time for Christmas gifts.
Yeah, there you go. And if you're listening and you're on the younger end of things right now, you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, and this doesn't sound interesting to you, it might sound interesting to your parents who grew up with me, and listening to the radio station, and might want to know some of the inside stories that I've never told on the air because I couldn't.
So man, I've never asked you this, and it might be a tough question, but in all these years, rock and roll, I'm going to let you have one album. All the other albums have to go away.
Yeah.
John Ulett's favorite all-time album.
Yes, Close to the Edge.
It is.
Wow. Yeah, that's always been my favorite.
I'm going to ask him, the night of the show when I bring him on, I'm going to play his walk-on song. Nobody knows what John Ulett's walk-on song is. And he's played every Cardinals walk-on song. It's, in the last how many years? 30
years?
No,
I haven't played them in the last 15 years, but I did for a long time. When we first started doing recorded music for walk-up songs, I was the person involved in that,
And this is a great thing that people might not be aware of. I think the best walk-up song was Welcome to the Jungle for Big Mac, he didn't pick it, right?
No, he didn't pick it. It was Tony Simakaitis, who's still my boss down there. He and I were just talking, and we said, what about this one? And they said, okay, let's just try it. And we started doing it, and he didn't care. I think Tony went to him later on and said, what do you think of the walk-up song we got for you? And I don't think he even knew what it was. He was not even involved,
Hey, John, did you ever tell the story about the time you got everybody's 3 names in a row wrong because you were distracted?
Well, that was embarrassing. Yeah, that was my first year. I was 1 batter off for 5 batters in a row. And the umpires and the batters were stepping out of the box and looking up and raising their hands, and I didn't even know what that meant because I was new. I don't know.
That is excusable on Jackie Robinson Day.
Well, yeah, thank you. Yes. Love Jackie Robinson. Love Jay. Very important, of course, to the history of Major League Baseball. But on that day, if you're the PA announcer and you're trying to identify players on the other team, forget it. It ain't going to happen. We can do the Cardinal players because you kind of know their body, when they walk, right. How they kind of look. But the opposed, they should just put the real number like on the pant, on the front of the pant or something.
That's a good idea.
Or on the sleeve, where you could at least, identify the player. But
So I'm assuming, Ron, that you'll have a framework here. Is this going to be scripted, or are you just
definitely not scripted, but yes, a framework. For example, there's a category called Face the DJ, because he's worked with so many high-profile radio personalities through the years here in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. I've invited many of them to come and say something to him that they've always wanted to say but never really had the guts to. In other words, it's an excuse to roast the guy. He's going to get 5 minutes on stage. There'll be some surprises there.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about this before. You think about a career, and you may have had the longest DJ career in America, right? From the start of your career until you're still working.
Right. Yeah, I'm still actually full-time, but, working part-time.
Was there one guy that was close, like in Cleveland or something, Chicago?
I want to say like Philadelphia, maybe.
But you had with one station from start to finish, you have the longest tenure. That's amazing. Good for you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
I think Mark Close is right behind you.
No, Mark.
No, he's changed stations.
He's changed station a bunch of times. Oh, yeah. But as far as being still on the air and stuff, but not at the same station. But, I mean, and you stop and you think, I stop and think about the different eras. There was the 70s. There was the 80s when Corcoran came in, and that was exciting. And then there was the 90s.
It wasn't exciting over at KMOX, by the way.
No, that was, Well, that's something we'll talk about on the show, on the stage. The hardships that came out of that time period with people that I really respected in the business at that time who were working at KMOX. We'll tell that story.
Like you say, move on to the 90s. There are really distinct eras of KC95.
That's right, yes. And then in the 2000s, we had a syndicated morning show for a long time, Bob and Tom, and I worked the local angles in that, and that wasn't really fun. But then they went away, and then I did the morning show with Learn for 8 years, and that was the longest local running morning show in the history of the radio station, that 8-year period with Learn.
And that was just downright kinky.
It was like a young girl and an older man.
The old man, really. That was weird.
It was weird. It was no doubt. But we embraced that weirdness, We made it fun and funny and had a great time doing it, so it worked.
Well, it's going to be awesome to see you up on stage again at the Sheldon on February 29th. Life, Death, and Other Scary Things. Tickets available at metrotix.com. And Ron, like you said, a great Christmas present. Great stocking stuffer.
Thank you, Randy.
Please do that.
I did have one question for you. So this may be like picking your favorite child, but if you were, say, DJ and Casey or PA announcer for the Cardinals, which one?
Oh, PA announcer for the Cardinals.
Really?
Ooh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he says that in this building.
It's easier. I mean, because it might sound like a complicated job or a difficult job, but it's really not that difficult. And I have made a lot of good friends there, and it's almost like in the room that we're sitting in now with all the different people who run all the different aspects of the organist is next to me, and the guy who plays the music, Dave Simakaitis, is next to me, and it becomes like a party atmosphere almost every night. We're just laughing about different things and having a good time. Gotcha. So and then of course, when they win, every time you show up there, you have a positive feeling of what could happen that night. And then we had the peak of what I feel is my career so far, and probably a lot of folks who's ever worked down there. Game 6 of the 2011 World Series, and then winning that World Series. I mean, that was incredible. And to be there as a employee of the Cardinals was just indescribable.
Amazing.
Also not having to wake up at 4 a.m.
Well, there's that too. Yes. Yeah. The Casey job was harder. Yeah, it was harder.
Yep. St. Louis Sports Hall of Famer and one of the all-time greats in our community.
Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And looking forward to the Sheldon Theater on February 29th. Ron, thank you so much for stopping by and joining us.
Thank you. It's great meeting all of you.
Great to meet you.
Too.
The U-Man here on 101 ESPN. We're going to head down the stretch, give away some tickets. By the way, we're giving away tickets. Def Leppard, Journey, the Steve Miller Band, Cheap Trick, and Heart, all coming July 6th to Busch Stadium.
They're all coming out in their wheelchairs. It's going to be exciting.
We'll give away tickets to that next on 101 ESPN. We all want great benefits, and we all want great insurance, and we all want it at a great price. And there is a great place to go for all of that, and that is to the health insurance guy, Jordan Krugman, my Parkway North classmate. You can go to thehealthinsuranceguy.net and learn about what he can do for you in terms of having great health insurance and getting it at great prices. Well, Jordan is the guy. He specializes in finding the right insurance plan for you, saving you lots of money. For example, a business owner with a retail store and 6 employees reached out to Jordan recently, and he's now saving $19,000 a year with a restructured health plan for the group. Don't go to healthcare.gov. Those plans are costly and restrictive. If you go to thehealthinsuranceguy.net, he's going to make a complicated topic easy with no broker fees and no hidden charges. He even has some plans with 0 deductible. And he's got a great office that you can meet him at in South County, but he can work over the phone with you, or you can work on Zoom, and he will save money for you, your family, and your business. Contact Jordan Krugman, the health insurance guy, at thehealthinsuranceguy.net. That number, 314-602-4055. That's his personal cell phone, 314-602-4055 for the health insurance guy, Jordan Krugman.
Fellas, it's the holiday season, and I know some of you are dreading that long car ride or that long trip cross country because of the urge to go, but the inability to make it to the restroom. You may need help, and you can talk to my friends at the Midwest Institute for Non-Surgical Therapy. You could be suffering from an enlarged prostate or benign prostatic hyperplasia, BPH. It's an issue that many men older that they deal with, and it's a feeling of needing to go to the restroom but just can't go. If this is you, you need to reach out to my friend Dr. Akinwande at STL. They have the solution, and that solution is called prostate artery embolization. It's a groundbreaking, minimally invasive procedure that treats BPH. This procedure will help you get going again. After PAE, the prostate begins to shrink within 24 to 48 hours, and over a 6-month span, the prostate can reduce by up to 40%, and the best part is it's covered by most insurances. Reach out to Mint STL today to schedule your appointment. That's MINTSTL.com, MINTSTL.com, and tell them Carey sent you.
I want to rock. And roll.
Let's rock. Let's rock today.
3,000 votes on our Twitter poll at Randy Karraker. What do you think of the St. Louis Blues firing of Craig Berube? At this point, 91.6% of respondents are saying that it's a bad move. 8.4% are saying that it's a good move. Very simple question. What do you think of the Blues firing of Craig Berube? Just log on to X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and you can still get your vote in. But it looks like bad move is going to win.
It's not a great move. I mean, but maybe a necessary move. Yes. Maybe that's the thing, the catalyst that'll get this team playing better, playing harder, playing with more energy and effort. And if not, then you know who to look to.
And Brooke, we're going to air the press conference live at 10:30.
Yes, we are. So it'll be very interesting to see what is said, because I think all of us are searching for answers. Every guest that we've had on today cannot point to a clear thing as to why it got to this point. Because to me, and if you look at what Shin said this past weekend, because that's what we have to work off of, right, is that the solution is in that room and in the regards to holding players accountable. It's up to these players, and maybe the solution does need to be outside of the room too, of getting different players' talent level coming in. But as of right now, this is on the players as to why this firing happened.
I'm not going to be able to make it over. I hope that somebody who's driving over to Centene, that is in the media and is going to be at the press conference and is listening now, will ask this question. How are the Blues better now than they were 24 hours ago?
Yes.
How does this move make them better than they were 24 hours ago? Because that's your job as a POHO, right? As a general manager, to, with every move you make the team better.
And I think also we touched on it. I hope somebody also asks him, 13 months ago, you were not going to fire the coach because the players weren't committing, and now clearly that has changed. What's the difference in this scenario than it was last year?
Yep, I think all fair because the other stuff is out there. Hey, did you know that you can join in the holiday spirit? Yes, you can. We want you to. Help 101 ESPN support Operation Food Search throughout December. All you need to do is go to our merch store at 101ESPN.com and pick up a T-shirt or a hoodie, a hat. We've got more than that. We've got Dunctionary T-shirts. We've got Be Patient shirts, Jamie Rivers and Brad Thompson jerseys, and order any of that swag during the month of December. And proceeds from all sales are going to go to support Operation Food Search. Visit 101 ESPN online merch store at 101ESPN.com. That's powered by McBride Homes. And we're giving away tickets to Def Leppard and Journey, Steve Miller, Cheap Trick, and Heart. All of them. And as you man said, come out in their wheelchairs.
Oh, man.
Somebody,
that's not true.
Wheelchair and walkers.
Yeah, somebody said the wheelchair and walkers tour, and that's so bad.
Well, we have your chance to score a pair of free tickets to this concert on July 6th at Busch Stadium. Tickets for the concert, Journey, Cheap Trick, Def Leppard, Heart, and the Steve Miller Band go on sale Friday. But you can text in now to 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO if you would like to get free tickets. And all you need to do is answer a trivia question that one Matthew Rocchio has concocted.
Texter number 13 on this answer. Earlier, Randy P. correctly stated that this is the fourth time that Doug Armstrong has fired a coach mid-season. Who was the first coach that Doug Armstrong fired mid-season? Texter number 13 on that one, which is also how many games that coach got fired into the season.
I know this answer. And you can also find a bonus chance to register to win tickets to Def Leppard and Journey at 101ESPN.com or on the 101 ESPN mobile app. Curbs doing chicken and pickle in St. Charles on Sunday from 11 to 1. So here's what you want to do. It's the first pickleball tournament ever at the new Chicken and Pickle location. It's an ugly sweater tournament, and more is happening at the new facility that includes 11 pickleball courts, a game yard, a rooftop bar, and much more. Check it all out Sunday with Curbs, who'll be at Chicken and Pickle from 11 to 1 in St. Charles. More info at 101ESPN.com. Well, at the end of the day, guys, we have to thank Craig Berube for delivering the first Stanley Cup to St. Louis, right? He was what we needed at the time, and it's something that I certainly will never forget because I was absolutely convinced that the franchise was cursed, and Chief was the guy who reversed the curse. And one thing I know about Craig Berube, and they obviously don't think so right now over at the Blues offices, the front, some people, one person, I know Craig Berube is capable of winning a Stanley Cup. I don't know that about Drew Bannister. I don't know that about a lot of coaches, but I do know that Craig Berube is capable of winning a Stanley Cup. And like Riv said, by the end of tomorrow, if Craig Berube wants to coach in the NHL, he'll be able to.
Because we're a good hockey team, and we're going to come home with a cup here tonight.
Unforgettable.
Let's go. Sonny, Bo, Perry, Benner. Let's go.
I will never forget that. And it was just such a special time to see what Craig Berube was able to do with that Stanley Cup championship team and the way he was able to turn things around so quickly in there. Yes, the talent level, you can't compare that roster and this roster. 100%, you can't do that. The talent level, though, sometimes that doesn't guarantee you wins. We've seen that in so many different sports, and he was the voice that was needed because Mike Yeo wasn't able to get that group to come together. Craig Berube came in there, and you heard that speech. He gave many speeches like that during the course of the season, and that's who he is. He's a great communicator with his players. He brings out the best in his players, and that's what he was able to accomplish. And so we'll always be grateful for what Craig Berube, and he also did a lot in the community. I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but in his spare time, he would actually go walk dogs at Stray Rescue.
Wow.
Yeah. So great person.
Great guy. He did so much for the Ascension Charity Classic.
Yes.
Great. Hey, CD, as a player who's a leader who does try hard, are you mad at the guys who don't try hard that got this guy fired?
Listen, Randy, we got to get some straightening going on. We got some conversations that should have been taking place all season long. But yes, because you you cost good people jobs and opportunities and money and opportunities to win championships.
And comfort. Right? Braden Chen has a comfort level with Craig Berube.
It's unfortunate, but we understand as pros, this is what happens in sports. People get fired when you don't do your job, but it does lead you to be a little bit frustrated, and I'm sure there have been some conversations. Man, I don't know if there have been fights or near fights, but strong, stern conversations about what needs to be done to make this team better.
Yeah, I had heard that Robert Bortuzzo wanted to move so that he could get more ice time. Maybe they moved Robert Bortuzzo so that he wouldn't punch somebody out because they knew they were going to get rid of the coach. He's done it before.
He has done it before.
So, our thanks to Jeremy Rutherford for getting up early, Chris Kerber for getting up early, and joining us here on the opening drive. Thanks to you for tuning in. A busy day, and we'll have a busy day throughout. We're going to have the press conference live at the bottom of the hour. Tim McKernan with you next with a balloon party, and then BK and Ferrario from 11 to 2, and then from 2 to 6, the Fast Lane, and Jamie Rivers will have tons of reaction to the firing of Craig Berube. We thank you for tuning in, texting. Well, you know what? I need to say thanks to our producer and engineer. And
doing a good job.
He did a lot today. Great job today by Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure. You guys killed it today.
Oh, thank you.
You killed it.
Yeah, I didn't kill it.
You rock.
I didn't kill it.
No.
Brooke, even though somebody got fired, was it fun?
Yeah, I'm just sad.
Me too.
How about that?
How about that?
Big mistake.
Show us your face. We want to see your face. Who said that? You want to see my face?
Big mistake. Huge mistake.
Michelle Smallman gave us that one on Twitter also. And we do thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. Tomorrow we'll do Ask Uncle Randy because we couldn't do it today. We've got another big shoe coming up for you tomorrow. For all of us until tomorrow morning at 7. Have a great hump day, St. Louis.
And now for something completely different.